Ariana was surprised when she saw the rivalry between the students from the two academies. She asked Axel, "Do we earn rewards if we defeat the military academy students?" He shook his head. "No, that only happens when we beat the blue sky people," he replied. "Aren't we here to earn a reward? If we don't get anything out of the battle, why should we bother to fight? If we're expected to defeat them, we should receive something when we do, right?" she inquired. When the other students heard her questions, they realized she had a good point. They all took deep breaths and felt much less anger toward their opponents. However, Shlomo still glared at Werther and said, "Well, we won't help you if you run into any danger. Let's go." He led the other 4 team members into the woods. Once they were gone, Brunhilde smirked and said, "Help us. They'll be the ones who need help." They all shrugged at each other and resumed their journey. Ariana observed her surroundings and memorized all the paths they had taken because she didn't want to lose her way in the woods. Brunhilde looked back at her and thought she was being ridiculous. She turned to Arnold and said, "Do you see what that fool is doing? She's trying to memorize the routes. Doesn't she know how complicated the terrain is? No one could remember which path we've taken." Arnold felt embarrassed and didn't want to keep gossiping. However, she wouldn't stop talking and added, "I can't believe how stupid she is. Doesn't she know we have a built-in compass in our armband? We can find our way out of the Dayless Woods just by following it. Instead, she's using her brain and unnecessarily expending energy. She's hopeless." Brunhilde was hostile toward Ariana because she was jealous of her. Ariana overheard everything she said and raised an eyebrow. "What if the armband is broken?" she asked. "Don't make me laugh. How could it break?" Brunhilde scoffed. The mere thought made her chuckle. Ariana rolled her eyes and asked Axel, "If needed, do we have a repair service for our armbands?" Axel nodded emphatically and said, "Of course we do. It's in the exchange office." His response proved that Ariana was right, because the armbands wouldn't need a repair service if they were unbreakable. She glanced back at Brunhilde, who had turned bright red from embarrassment and kept her head down. After taking some time to think about it, she looked at Ariana and said, "Only people with low cultivation levels like you would break their armbands. Senior cultivators like us would never let that happen." Ariana ignored her. She knew how to handle somebody like Brunhilde. She had already encountered countless people who thought they were better than everyone else. Instead of wasting her breath bickering, Ariana decided to wait for an opportunity to defeat her permanently. Suddenly, Brunhilde exclaimed, "Wow, an essence crystal!" She picked up a stone from a crack in the walkway, looking pleasantly surprised. "How lucky!" Ariana observed the essence crystal. It was her first time seeing one, and she immediately noticed that it was denser and purer than spiritual stones. Meanwhile, in the general's quarters of the fortress, the crown prince was tossing and turning in bed. Jake had been eavesdropping outside for a while. When he heard Warwick's groans, he decided to pop in and have a look because he was worried about the prince's safety. He tapped on the door, and the sulking crown prince sat up quickly, wondering if Ariana had returned. Warwick decided that even if it was Ariana, she was too late, so he lay back down and threw the blanket over his head. "There's no way I'm forgiving her that easily," he thought. Jake knocked again, and when he didn't hear a reply, He pushed the door open. Back in the Dayless Woods, Axel was explaining to Ariana. Essence crystals are more advanced than spiritual stones and can only be found in special locations such as the Peace Grassland, and they're scattered throughout the Dayless Woods. Although they are very few in the outer ring, we can find more if we move closer to the center. They continued to walk through the woods when he pointed at a spewing volcano and said, These crystals can only grow in the Dayless Woods and other special locations because of that. She nodded. She understood it was the reason so many people were attracted to the Dayless Woods. She also realized it was why cultivators always made rapid progress when they went to the Peace Grassland. He continued, Everybody is looking for the essence crystals, including the blue sky people. Many perish in these woods. The weaker cultivators stay in the outer ring, but some think they're strong enough, so they go deeper into the forest. They work hard to discover the essence crystals, and when they've exhausted every inch of the area, if they haven't found any of their own, they try to kill their enemies and steal their essence crystals. Ariana's eyes widened at the brutality. Axel looked at her, sighed, and added, When one kills their enemy and takes the essence crystal, they can turn their prizes in for points. With enough points, we can rise to a higher military ranking, which gives us access to more cultivation resources and weapons. She asked, Is that all we get if we turn them in? It seems like a waste. He shook his head and replied, No, it's worth it, depending on your objective. We haven't graduated yet, but our points still count. If we can accumulate enough points, we can graduate directly or reach a higher military ranking. There was this one guy who went from a student to captain in the army. It was amazing. Brunhilde rolled her eyes at their conversation. This girl doesn't know anything. She's useless. She still has no idea how the system works. She's just a pretty face, she thought. She turned back in to hear Axel praise her rival. Ariana, you're so lucky. I bet you'll find plenty of essence crystals, he exclaimed. Although she's already lucky enough since the prince is madly in love with her, he thought. Before Ariana could say anything, Brunhilde interjected. Plenty of essence crystals. Do you know how many people leave this place empty-handed? Ariana gave her a strange look. Brunhilde noticed and snapped. Why are you looking at me? Ariana replied. Can you move aside? Brunhilde grimaced. What did you say? For a current student, you're very bold. How dare you tell me to make way for you? She barked. You're in my way. I need that essence crystal, Ariana said, pointing at the ground. Brunhilde laughed. You must be joking. Let me tell you how rare essence crystals are. Before she could launch into an explanation, Ariana crouched down and picked up a stone the size of a fingernail. She turned to Axel and asked, Is this an essence crystal? Brunhilde snorted. I can't believe how naive this girl is. She just called some random stone an essence crystal, she thought. Brunhilde almost felt sorry for Ariana. Before she could reprimand her gullibility, Axel cried out. Everyone turned to look at him, wondering why he was so excited. Brunhilde was furious and smacked him on the head. Shut up! Don't you know where we are? Do you want to tell everybody we're here? She exclaimed. She was right, because the Dayless Woods were filled with enemies. If the Blue Sky people heard him, they could ambush the team and annihilate them. Brunhilde's smack nearly knocked him unconscious. When he finally recovered, he pointed at the small rock in Ariana's hand. It was covered with mud, so no one knew what it was. Axel grabbed it and started cleaning it off. Brunhilde cackled and mocked. "It's just a stone. Do you think that's an essence crystal?" But when Axel wiped away the dirt, the light almost blinded her. Oh no, is that an essence crystal? She wondered. She rubbed her eyes, thinking she must be seeing things. When she saw that everyone else was staring at Ariana in awe, she was mortified. She put her hands on her hips and asked, "How did you find that? You must have cheated. You already had one and wanted us to think you're more powerful than you are, so you planted it there." Ariana replied innocently, "No, I didn't. I've never seen one before. I spotted this one just now and picked it up." Brunhilde shouted, "You're a liar!" Axel ignored her outburst and was happy for Ariana. He handed the essence crystal back to her after wiping it clean and advised, "Put it away so our opposition doesn't see it. Someone who stays in the outer ring would consider themselves very fortunate to find anything. It's incredible that we just arrived and you've already found one. You're so lucky." He couldn't stop admiring her. Brunhilde got jealous and said, "It was just beginner's luck. She's not the only one who has found an essence crystal. I found the first essence crystal. I deserve even more praise than she does," she thought. Axel looked over at Brunhilde and insisted, "I think Ariana is blessed by the goddess of luck." Brunhilde was furious, but she wasn't about to argue with someone of a lower level than her. She figured reality would teach both of them a lesson soon enough. Werther frowned and said, "Be quiet. We need to keep moving." He was a level 4 spiritual king, so Brunhilde immediately stopped talking. Everyone enjoyed their walk more when there wasn't any bickering. As they silently trekked through the forest, Ariana suddenly moved to the left. Brunhilde lost her temper when she saw she wasn't following the path. "What are you doing? We need to stay together. You're slowing us down," she screamed. Ariana ignored her, dropped to the ground, and started digging with a dagger. Before Brunhilde could say anything else, Ariana picked up a small black stone. Brunhilde saw Ariana lift the stone out of the ground and frowned. "It's just a dirty little rock. What are you doing?" she sneered. Ariana handed it to Axel, and he wiped the mud off the rock. It was another essence crystal. Brunhilde breathed in sharply. She was infuriated when she saw the essence crystal. She was already envious of Ariana's beauty. "I can't believe this girl is so lucky," she thought. Her jealousy grew. Even Werther, who had remained indifferent, looked at Ariana in amazement. When she met his gaze, he abruptly turned his head and looked away, pretending not to notice her as his face flushed and his heart raced. He felt a spark of desire for her, but he still managed to maintain a nonchalant demeanor. Since everybody was focusing on Ariana's discovery, no one noticed Werther's strange behavior. He stole another glimpse of Ariana when Brunhilde began ranting at her. "How did you know it was an essence crystal? How could this be?" she asked. Ariana simply shrugged her shoulders and said, "I think I'm just lucky." Brunhilde found her response acceptable enough. "You have some luck, I'll give you that, but that's it. It was just a fluke. I'll leave you to celebrate for now, but keep in mind that you probably won't find any others," she said. She felt offended by the mere existence of Ariana. She glared at her as she thought, Something's just not right about her. Axel was annoyed by Brunhilde's antagonistic behavior and said, "Why are you targeting Ariana? Are you jealous?" She couldn't believe her ears. Targeting her? Axel, are you blind? Who does she think she is? Why would I be jealous of her? Are you saying she's better than me? She asked. Axel nodded without hesitation. Yes, he exclaimed. Arnold burst out laughing, and Brunhilde threw a dirty look at him. He had always feared her, so he immediately turned away to avoid making eye contact. Brunhilde glowered at Axel. "Why do you say she's better than me?" she asked, pressing him for an answer. He was about to tell the truth when Werther said grimly, "Keep shouting at each other if you want to die out here." Everybody stopped talking abruptly. Werther's still on my side. As for Axel, I'll make him pay for this later, she thought. Werther cast a stern look at Brunhilde and began thinking she was a troublemaker. His gaze briefly landed on Ariana's face before he awkwardly looked away. His tone softened when he said, "Let's go." He was the first to set out after the brief stop. Brunhilde quickly followed him. He glanced at her, feeling disappointed. She didn't know what he was thinking and assumed everything was just as it had always been. She smiled and whispered, "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have let such a girl join our team. Let's ignore her." "Such a girl?" Werther asked. Brunhilde deliberately raised her voice so that the others could hear her. "Luck won't change the fact that she's a weakling. A level 2 spiritual king isn't worthy of this team. She's also very ignorant," she said. She looked back at Ariana as she spoke to see if she was getting under the girl's skin. Axel realized she was trying to antagonize Ariana. He refused to engage in her gossip. Brunhilde looked at Arnold, who refused to meet her gaze. No one wanted to talk to her. When nobody responded, she felt upset and frustrated. She needed somebody to chime in, but there wasn't anyone willing to back her up. As a result, she sounded like a bully who was picking on Ariana for no reason. Brunhilde was about to say something else when Ariana cautioned, "Watch out!" Everyone froze and looked at her. "Some assassins are coming from the northeast. They're from the Blue Sky Kingdom," she said. Brunhilde looked at Werther, who shook his head, but she ignored his silent warning. She assumed an arrogant demeanor and glared at Ariana. "Can you stop acting like you know what you're doing? Making yourself the center of attention won't help you with your popularity. We'll only find you annoying," she said. Ariana ignored her. She grabbed Axel and Arnold and dragged them behind a tree. The attackers jumped out and startled the group. There were 2 of them, and they were exceptionally capable. Werther's sword clashed with the enemy's weapons, sending sparks flying everywhere. One attacker was a level 4 spiritual king, just like Werther, and the other one was a peak level 3 spiritual king. Their target was Ariana, who had become well known in the Blue Sky Kingdom because of her achievements in battle. Although she was unaware, there was a price on her head. Because she dodged in time, the assassin charged at Brunhilde instead. She reacted quickly and tilted her head. She didn't know what had happened at first, but when she touched her head, she realized her hair was gone. "What happened to me?" she screamed as she frantically felt her scalp for blood. When she realized it was just her hair, she was so furious that she charged at the assassin, who was already frustrated. "My target isn't this sword-wielding woman. I want Ariana's head so I can claim my reward," he thought. However, Brunhilde was attacking him, and he had to fight back. It was a fierce battle. Ariana was off in a corner, but she noticed the assassin kept stealing glances at her. Could it be that I'm his target? She wondered. At that moment, an arrow was shot in her direction. Her stomach lurched as she dodged it. She knew for certain then that she was their mark. She began chasing after the person who had shot the arrow at her. Ariana chased the man who had tried to shoot her with the arrow. He was a fast runner, but so was she. She then realized the blue sky assassin was a girl about the same age as her. She's just a spiritual king. Does she have a death wish or something? She wondered. The assassin spun around and pointed her bow at Ariana's face. She continued running, only backward, as she shot 3 arrows in a row. However, Ariana moved faster than the girl could imagine. She swatted at the arrows, and they dropped to the ground. The girl turned back around, dumbfounded, but she kept running. Although Ariana was impressed by the assassin's moves, she wasn't about to let her get away. She sped up and reached the girl. She grabbed her arm, twisted it behind her back, and put a dagger to her throat. "Am I your mark?" Ariana asked. The girl struggled, but to no avail. She glared at Ariana and gritted her teeth. "Kill me now!" she exclaimed. Ariana ignored the request and asked, "Why am I your target?" The girl snorted and replied, "You're a wanted woman. Your head is worth 1,000 points. You're very valuable." The girl tried to get out of Ariana's grip, but she was holding on too tight. "I've told you what you want to know. Let go of me," she demanded. "Have you heard of the immortal spirit fruit?" Ariana asked. "The immortal spirit fruit?" the girl inquired. She laughed and said, "Are you looking for it? Do you think I'll tell you where it is?" Ariana squeezed the girl's arm and pushed the blade against her throat as she growled. "So, you do know about it." The girl sneered. "I'd rather die than tell you anything." Ariana shook her head. "I'm not going to kill you. You have to tell me what I need to know instead," she said matter-of-factly. The girl didn't believe her, but began to panic when Ariana dropped her knife and grabbed a syringe from her utility belt. Ariana quickly injected her with the truth serum. "Let go of me! What are you doing? What is that?" the girl bellowed. Ariana had enhanced the truth serum, and it took effect quickly. In less than a minute, the girl turned red and drooled, unable to control herself. Ariana pressed her against a tree. "Your name?" she demanded. "Doya," the girl muttered. "Your target," Ariana ordered. "Kill Ariana. Claim the reward," Doya replied. Ariana stared at her and said, "Tell me everything you know." Doya bit her lip but wasn't able to resist. "The Crown Prince is looking for the immortal spirit fruit to treat his condition," she confessed. Ariana narrowed her eyes. "The Crown Prince? As in Night Owl?" she asked. Doya nodded. "He's lost some ability. He needs the immortal spirit fruit to recover." Ariana's eyes lit up. She suddenly realized what Night Owl's true intentions had been all along. When he had turned himself into a bomb and exploded to kill Warwick, Ariana had figured he didn't care if he died. But it occurred to her that the Blue Sky Prince had done it because he knew he could find the immortal spirit fruit in the Dayless Woods. "He might even know the exact location of the fruit," she said aloud. It was why he had chosen to self-detonate. He had planned to kill Warwick and use the immortal spirit fruit to recover his strength. The thought made Ariana even angrier. As Doya glared at her, Ariana asked, "Not many people would know about Night Owl's plan. How do you know about it? What's your relationship with him?" I... Doya stammered. She tried to resist, but she wasn't able to control her mind. "I'm Master Inti's maid. I won't tell you anything else," she said. Doya took her life before uttering another word. She knew the Blue Sky people often went to extremes, and it wasn't uncommon for them to try to prove their devotion by taking their own lives. Right after Doya's confession, Axel and the others arrived. They looked at the assassin's corpse on the forest floor and turned to stare at Ariana. She asked casually, "Did you kill the other assassins?" The others were speechless, but Axel replied, "No, they got away." She frowned. "How did that happen?" she mumbled. Since Doya had admitted that Ariana was the target of the attack, Ariana was anxious that the rest of them escaped. She assumed they were assembling more people for the next ambush. Brunhilde grunted and shouted, "Who do you think we are? We can't defeat a Blue Sky cultivator who's at the same cultivation level as us. They have much better weapons. If you don't know that, keep your mouth shut. You're only making yourself look like a fool." Axel decided to examine the assassin on the ground. Hunched over the body, he noticed her insignia and exclaimed, "She's a major. She must be a level 3 spiritual king." He turned to Ariana and asked, "You killed her, didn't you? You killed an enemy above your cultivation level again. I can't believe you've killed 2. He was deliberately reminding Brunhilde that Ariana had killed a level 3 spiritual king during the battle. He was tired of Brunhilde's condescending tone and wanted to rub Ariana's success in her face. Ariana didn't deny his claim. Although Doya had killed herself, she wouldn't have stood a chance in a battle anyway. Brunhilde felt a chill run down her spine when she saw the Blue Sky girl's body. She gave Ariana an indignant look, but didn't say another word. Axel removed Doya's badge and put it in Ariana's backpack, and then he opened Doya's bag. Apart from food and water, there was something else inside. "Essence crystals!" Axel cried out. "She was quite a wealthy girl. There are 5 in her bag." Brunhilde was immediately jealous. "Let me have a look!" she yelled. She snatched the essence crystals away from Axel and examined them, hoping they were fake. Not only were they genuine, but they also had a high purity level, so they couldn't be counterfeit. Brunhilde couldn't understand why Ariana was so lucky. She had killed an enemy with a higher cultivation level than her and found the essence crystals. "How is this possible? Ariana is both gorgeous and capable," she thought. She threw her a dirty look and roared, "No one likes you. I wish you hadn't joined this group." Ariana was speechless. She couldn't understand how she had offended the girl. but she couldn't bring herself to drop to Brunhilde's level, so she ignored her outburst. Werther cast a stern look at Brunhilde. "Can you be quiet for a minute?" he asked. She almost burst into tears because she felt like she was always the one getting the blame. Frustrated, she glowered at Axel. "I'll keep the essence crystals for now," she shrieked. Axel shook his head at her and asked, "Why should you keep them?" Brunhilde replied, "We're a team. Of course, we're going to share the rewards we collect here." He started, but she interrupted. "If we had installed the other two assassins, do you think Ariana could have killed this one? Do you?" He wanted to say yes, but wasn't confident enough to insist. Brunhilde had a crazed look in her eyes as he hesitated to respond. She sneered. "Werther is the most capable member of this team, and he should be the one to keep the reward. But if he's carrying too much, it'll slow him down during battles. As the second best member of this team, I'll keep them." She tried to put the essence crystals in her bag, but Axel stopped her. He grabbed them out of her hands and wouldn't let go when she tried to get them from him again. He knew that if she got a hold of them, Ariana would never get them back. Brunhilde grew irate when he didn't obey her. She was frustrated that all of her team members were starting to push back, so she decided to show them who had the most authority on the team. But before she could make her next move, Werther asked, "Are you ever going to stop behaving like this?" Brunhilde was shocked. Werther stole a glance at Ariana before mocking Brunhilde. "If I were you, I would take care of your hair first," he remarked. He looked over at Ariana again. Brunhilde followed his gaze to Ariana's beautiful hair. She was taken aback by his comment. She couldn't believe that someone as level-headed as he had become obsessed with Ariana's beauty. She felt like she was going to explode with frustration. She had always thought he was on her side, but that was no longer the case. "All you can see is her pretty face," she shouted. "She's only a level 2 spiritual king. If I didn't give her a chance, she would never have been able to join us." Ariana frowned at her and decided it was time to teach her a lesson. But before she could, Werther cried out, "Watch out!" Ariana reacted swiftly. She dragged Axel and Arnold behind her and drew her Fallen Star sword. She noticed a group of enemies approaching them and counted at least 9. Most of them were level 3 spiritual kings, and they were all quite young. She was concerned that they were so powerful at such a young age. Brunhilde was scared out of her wits. They had encountered groups at that level before, but her team always fled before they were noticed. "Die!" A blue sky assassin screamed. Their side charged at Ariana. 2 of them broke away from the rest of the group and approached Brunhilde. She was so flustered that she nearly collapsed. 2 level 3 spiritual kings? How am I supposed to fight them? She wondered. The rest of the Mystic Kingdom team ran after the Blue Sky Assassins, headed toward Ariana. Everybody was fighting. It was a brutal and difficult battle. Trigger warning. The following episode contains certain events which some listeners may find disturbing. It is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Ariana knew the fight wasn't going to be like the previous battle she had experienced. She realized she would have to give it her all and kill every last one of them. If she didn't, they would return to their base for reinforcements, and even more Blue Sky assassins would be on the hunt for her. Ariana heard Axel scream and turned around to find that his right arm was hurt. She panicked. He had been kind to her and constantly defended her. She hated to see him get hurt on account of her. She felt vulnerable for caring about him. She was usually treated so poorly by others that she rarely felt sympathy for them when they were injured. When she was worried for Axel's safety, she felt uneasy, but pushed her emotions aside. She knew she had to treat him immediately before he lost any more blood. Ariana started to move toward him when a Blue Sky assassin stopped her. He grabbed her arm and said, "Well, well, aren't you pretty?" Before he could continue, she leaped into the air and struck him with her sword and killed him. Werther was surrounded by 5 enemies, so he hadn't noticed Ariana's sword move. He still had no idea how capable she was. 5 level 3 spiritual kings banding together was a formidable force, and Werther wasn't their match. He had already suffered many injuries, but still tried to protect Ariana. "They're the 2 assassins from earlier! Run!" he shouted at her. He was surrounded and knew he couldn't defeat his enemies. He accepted his fate, but warned the others. "Don't fight them! Run! Get out of here! All of you!" Although the Blue Sky assassins were ruthless, they struggled to fight off the Mystic Kingdom team. The aggressors were surprised that their victims fought as well as they did. They knew that Werther was the most capable member of the team, so they decided to gang up on him and take him out before setting their sights on Ariana. They thought if they took him down, they would win the battle. Brunhilde thought it was so hopeless and began to panic. She couldn't exert her real capability and was losing ground. She wanted to flee, but she slipped and fell. She looked up and saw an assassin raise his saber above her. As he struck down at her head, she lost all strength and couldn't move a muscle. She wanted to dodge, but was scared out of her wits. At that critical moment, someone dashed toward her. She swung her sword as she ran past Brunhilde. Brunhilde lay on the ground covering her eyes. She was waiting for the blow that would take her life. Instead, though, she heard grunting and sword clinks above her head. When she looked up, she saw 2 figures fighting. She flinched and cowered on the ground. She was thankful someone came to her rescue. She tried to get up off the floor, but collapsed in her weakened state. As she continued to struggle, she heard a loud squeal and saw the assassin was dead. "He's been decapitated. Who did this?" she wondered. When Brunhilde looked up, she was shocked to see who was standing over her. "No, it can't be. Something must have gone wrong. How could it be Ariana?" she wondered. Brunhilde was so surprised. Axel and Arnold were the least capable members of the team, but they were fighting as hard as they could. Brunhilde couldn't stand up because her legs had given in. She looked at Werther, who was fighting a short distance away. She couldn't believe her eyes and thought she was dreaming as she watched Ariana wielding her Fallen Star sword. Ariana only knew 3 stances, but killed them one after another. She had already killed 5 assassins and still wasn't done. Brunhilde trembled uncontrollably as she stared at Ariana. How? How could she have destroyed so many people? She wondered. As the fighting continued, Ariana slaughtered every assassin herself. Before long, the only ones left were the level 4 spiritual king and the level 3 spiritual king fighting Axel. Werther was completely blown away. He had been under a lot of pressure when the fight started. After being stabbed several times, he thought he was doomed until Ariana showed up and took care of the assassins attacking him. By that stage, he was very certain that she was as capable as he was. He felt both frustrated and awed. She was supposed to be a level 2 spiritual king. How could this be? He wondered. Meanwhile, Ariana headed toward the level 4 spiritual king. She deliberately made a mistake in her movements. The assassin thought he saw his chance, smirked, and ran out of Ariana's attack range. He soon disappeared into the woods. As he ran away, he called over his shoulder, "I'll be back!" Werther wanted to go after him, but Ariana beat him to it. He was about to follow them when Brunhilde shouted, "Axel, watch out!" Werther looked in Axel's direction to see what he was up against. When he turned back toward Ariana and the assassin, they were nowhere to be found. Brunhilde cried out, "Werther, please help us! We can't hold them back anymore!" "I hope Ariana comes back soon," Werther thought as he sighed. He knew he had to help Axel and the others, because if he chased after Ariana and the assassin, he would return to find the rest of his team dead. He turned back around and ran over to Axel. When the level 3 spiritual king saw his opponent headed toward him, he knew he was doomed. Werther was much more capable than him. The assassin stopped fighting Axel and took his own life. "I would rather die than become a captive or be killed by you," he screamed. Werther Wilmot had seen many Blue Sky Kingdom assassins kill themselves rather than be captured. Dismissively, he returned to the matters at hand. "Is Ariana back yet?" he asked. He knew she had chased after the assassin, but he hoped she would be back already. His question brought Axel Leon rushing over, a picture of anxious concern as he frantically looked around for signs of his teammate. "Where did she go?" he asked. Brunhilde Borcher snorted. "That other assassin escaped, and she went after him." "Don't look at me like that," she snapped, somewhat defensively, when she saw the accusing look on Axel's face. "She wanted to chase him. I didn't do anything." "I'm sorry," said Werther. "I would have gone after them, but Brunhilde needed my help." "Did you at least see which way they went?" Axel asked, trying to stem the bleeding from his arm. "What's it to you?" Brunhilde grumbled. "It's not like you're in any state to go after them." Axel ignored her and turned to Werther. "Which way did she go?" Werther bit his lip. He knew what the boy wanted to do, and that it was a bad idea. But he also knew there was little he could do to prevent him, so he pointed him in the right direction and watched as he dashed off. Brunhilde looked on in disbelief. "Is he some kind of idiot? He's so weak, and his arm is still bleeding. This place is full of assassins. He could be killed." He gave her a withering look. "Do you think he doesn't know that? Of course he does, but he still went. He's a braver man than me." "I still say he's a fool," she retorted. "Is he? Perhaps he is," Werther mused with a wry smile. "But I can't help but admire him." Looking over his shoulder, the fleeing Blue Sky Kingdom assassin was gleeful to see that there was only one person giving chase. And recognizing that person as Ariana Grace, he stopped, turned around, and charged at her. There was a price on her head, and he decided it was his for the easy taking. After all, she was a mere level 2 spiritual king. But she was swifter than he had thought, dodging his attack and drawing out the fallen star sword. Within seconds, they exchanged dozens of blows. The assassin was still getting over the shock and trying to work out how he could have so badly misjudged his opponent, when to his astonishment, she made a breakthrough mid-battle. With a cry of mingled fury and disbelief, the assassin realized that Ariana was getting the better of him. "Ground control!" she yelled. A single strike of the fallen star sword sealed the deal. The sword injured him badly. Instinctively, he raised his sword to take his own life, but Ariana, alert to the ways of those of the Blue Sky Kingdom, kicked the weapon away and disabled her opponent. "It's not time for you to die just yet," she told him. The assassin, lying on his stomach, turned his head to glare at her. She crouched, grinning in return. "I know you're here to kill me and claim your prize." The assassin struggled to find a way to carry out his training and avoid interrogation. "Are you having trouble there?" Ariana asked, feigning concern. "I could probably help you, at a price. Have you heard of the immortal spirit fruit?" The last assassin she had captured and questioned was Master Apollo Inti's maid. This one had been part of the same team, so was likely also working for her. Ariana noticed the glint in his eye at the mention of the fruit. "I see you've heard of it," she said. "No." Sitting beside the man, Ariana took out a bottle of truth serum. "Come on, Juan. It's time to take your medicine," she announced. "How do you know my name?" he asked. "Well, at least we've established that much," Ariana said, and secretly congratulated herself on an impossibly lucky strike. She had only used the name because it rhymed. "And now that I know we can understand each other, this will be plain sailing." "Immortal spirit fruit." He struggled to keep himself from revealing what he knew. "In the central area. Master Inti." "Good. Carry on. What about Master Apollo Inti?" she encouraged. "Collecting it for the Crown Prince." "For Night Owl? Blue Sky Kingdom's Crown Prince?" she asked. "Yes. You also need it. Your blood is medicine," he croaked reluctantly. "Why is my blood a medicine?" she asked. "Divine Phoenix blood. Master Inti says you have it now." Ariana's stomach lurched. "That's why I'm being targeted," she realized. Somebody must have told the Blue Sky Kingdom that my blood changed to Divine Phoenix blood. Who could have done such a thing? She mused. Coming here was a last-minute decision, and most people out in Peace Grassland don't know about it. I don't think even Master Holmes knows. But someone leaked the information to the other side. I wonder, could it be her? Her mind started juggling. Ariana was thinking about who might have leaked that information in her mind. Suddenly, she came back to her senses. "Who told you about my Divine Phoenix blood?" Ariana demanded of Juan. The Blue Sky Kingdom assassin fought in vain to overcome the effects of the truth serum. "I don't know," he spat out. "A girl from the Mystic Kingdom. Cunningham." Chrissy Cunningham. The information came as something of a surprise to Ariana. I was sure he was going to say Madeline Monroe. She must have told Chrissy what happened, and Chrissy leaked the information to the Blue Sky Kingdom. For a moment, Ariana couldn't breathe. Rage filled her heart. Prince Warwick would give his life for this kingdom, and he very nearly did. But those two bitches would sell out to the enemy just through spite. I'll kill them for this, she thought. I'll make them sorry they were ever born. Channeling her outrage at such a treachery, she continued to press for vital information. Where is Master Apollo Inti? Juan shook his head in a final act of defiance before dying. Ariana was distracted from her frustration by the sound of approaching footsteps. Ariana! Ariana! A voice called out to her. She turned to see Axel rushing to her side. Are you all right? He asked, and then he looked down and saw the dead assassin. Isn't that... Momentarily lost for words, Axel simply pointed at the man lying on the ground next to Ariana. Yes, she confirmed. One of the assassins who ambushed us. Did you... She nodded. I killed him, yes. But he was a level 4 spiritual king. Aren't you just at level 2? Axel, still recovering from his injury and exhausted from running, struggled to come to terms with the situation. Ariana smiled at him. What do you think? Wait, what? Are you level 3 now? He asked in astonishment. Yes, she confirmed. Axel couldn't believe it. It can't have been more than a few minutes since I last saw her. He marveled. She's made another breakthrough already. Who is she? Just when I think I know her, she goes and surprises me all over again. And what can I do to help? He thought, ruefully looking at his arm. Nothing. Following his gaze, Ariana gave him a bottle of pills. Here, take one of these, and make sure to clean the wound. You can keep the bottle. You do seem to be injury-prone. Axel looked at the pills in the bottle. And still, she pulls out more surprises. He thought, Supreme-level pills? Still, I suppose she's now a semi-divine medicine refiner. So this sort of medicine will be easy for her to put together. I'm so glad she's on my side. And to think, I used to be her team leader. Not too proud to take instruction from someone who used to be below him in the academy, he did as he was told. Now, let's see what we have here, he said, inspecting the dead assassin. He was a lieutenant colonel. Look, that makes him quite valuable. Axel removed Juan's badge and put it in Ariana's backpack before opening the dead man's bag. His eyes lit up. Jackpot, he said with a satisfied grin. There were 15 essence crystals in the dead assassin's bag. It's true what they say. The higher the stakes, the higher the prize. Axel took out the essence crystals and made to put them in Ariana's bag, but she stopped him. She also removed the assassin's badge and then took out the badge from Doya, which he had put into her bag before the row had broken out with Brunhilde over that assassin's crystals. What are you doing? Axel asked. I haven't graduated yet, and so I was only able to come here because I was allowed onto the team. Ariana explained. All the essence crystals and badges are therefore, by rights, for the whole team, she said, stuffing them into Axel's bag. His eyes widened. Do you know how many points these things are worth? Ariana shrugged and shook her head. You have 1 major's and 1 lieutenant colonel's badge, and 22 essence crystals. Together, They're worth 6,400 points. That's enough to become a major. In the Mystic Kingdom, talent alone was insufficient to progress through the ranks of the military. To become a major required 6,000 points, and a lieutenant colonel 36,000 points. Skirmishes were an important way of not only honing skills, but also gaining extra points from the spoils. A single captured major's badge was worth 600 points, and one from a lieutenant colonel was worth 3,600 points. The essence crystals could be either used for manifestation or exchanged for 100 points each. No one ever gave away their points, as was evident from the row over the crystals captured from Doya. The military ranking was key out in the Peace Grassland. It determined everything from manifestation resources to the level of the team a person could join. The higher the ranking, the higher the chance of survival. "These 4 are yours. You found them on your own," Axel urged. "And there's nothing they can say about it if you decide to keep them." Ariana shook her head. "They're just things. I don't want to owe anybody anything. Just share them among the team." "Now go," she told him. "You should stay with the rest of the team. It's getting too dangerous for you to stay out here with me." "If I tell him that I'm the target of the assassins, he'll want to do the decent thing and stay with me," she thought. "And if I go back with him, I'll endanger the lives of the whole team. It'll be better for everyone if I carry on alone." Seeing that Axel was about to object, Ariana shook her head. "No, you should leave. I need to go to the central arena to find the immortal spirit fruit." She patted his shoulder as a mark of thanks for his concern, and then watched as he ran out of sight. Returning to the team, Axel felt his hair bristle at the recollection of what Ariana had told him. The central area? Should I have insisted on going with her? He wondered. She didn't give me any choice, though. Brunhilde was astonished to see him. "You're alive! Where's Ariana? She's not dead, is she?" "Dead?" he scorned. "Are you blind or stupid? Didn't you see Ariana kill all those assassins? Without her, you wouldn't still have a head on your shoulders. Wake up!" Brunhilde was stunned into silence. "How could anyone kill her?" Axel continued. "She's more powerful than a level 4 spiritual king." Brunhilde reacted with a derisory snort to the suggestion that Ariana might overpower a level 4 spiritual king. "I don't believe you," she snapped. "See for yourself." Axel took off his backpack and showed her the badges and essence crystals. "So many?" Brunhilde was caught between admiration and dejection. "Where did this lieutenant colonel's badge come from?" Axel sneered at her. "Where do you think?" Realizing the truth, but unwilling to admit it, she muttered, "I don't know." "Of course you don't," he scoffed. "Ariana got it. She killed that assassin she went after. He was a level 4 spiritual king." Brunhilde desperately wanted to refute that, but could not escape the recollection of how easily Ariana had killed the assassins who had ambushed them. "So, she's finally willing to share the winnings, is she?" It was a cheap shot, but the best she could do. "There are 6,400 points here," Axel said with as much patience as he could muster. "And she's not taking any of them. She's giving them all to our team." "Then she must be up to something," Brunhilde retorted suspiciously. "Suit yourself. She's going her own way," he told her. "Anything she finds from now on, she'll keep." Brunhilde smirked. Well, isn't she the generous one? She'll never get back alive without us. Ignoring her, Axel handed her a piece of paper. What's this? She asked. Insurance, he told her. You have a habit of going back on your word, so we better put it in writing that we're going to share the points equally amongst the team. What? Brunhilde was outraged. Don't you trust me? Axel was tired of trying to be diplomatic. Correct. I don't trust you. Arnold Vermillion, overhearing their conversation, stifled a laugh when Brunhilde glared at him. What do you think I'm going to do then? She challenged Axel. Ask Ariana to share the rest of her badges and essence crystals? Yes, that's exactly what I think you'll do, he replied. Brunhilde took a deep breath. I can't wait to see how many points she can earn. I'll sign it, but under duress. And I'll make sure everyone knows my version of the events when we get back. I wouldn't do that if I were you, warned Axel. And if you knew that Ariana has the backing of the Crown Prince, he thought, then you certainly wouldn't risk spreading nasty lies about her. Choosing to ignore him, Brunhilde signed her name. Axel asked both Werther and Arnold to sign the same agreement, just to be on the safe side, and so that Brunhilde couldn't make any suggestion of victimization. I feel like I'm taking advantage of Ariana, Arnold said, hesitating. Just sign it. Axel then passed the agreement and pen to Werther. I can't do it, he said. Before signing his name, he wrote a disclaimer. Ariana earned all the badges and essence crystals. I, Werther Wilmot, am willing to give up those points. Now I feel terrible, thought Axel. He's done such an honorable thing. But if I do the same, then that will only increase the share that goes to Brunhilde. And if we all follow his lead, she'll get them all. Brunhilde glared at him. Why are you looking at me like that? She asked. Why do you think I'm looking at you? Axel asked. Werther has just waived his rights to share any of the points Ariana earned. Are you saying I should give up my rights too? Brunhilde retorted. Put it this way, he said. Werther fought for us. What did you do? Ariana had to save you from the assassins, and all you can do is threaten to badmouth her. Are you going to take her share of the prize? Brunhilde was furious, but realized that she was outnumbered. All right, I give up. She took back the paper, crossed out where she had originally signed it, then added her signature under Werther's disclaimer. And don't worry, she snarled. Whatever Ariana finds later will have nothing to do with me. And if I make trouble for her because of that, may lightning strike me down. Well, thank you very much, said Axel. Save your breath, she said. You'll need it for praying for Ariana. She'll need all the help she can get. In the general's quarters within the fortress, Jake Grace looked tentatively over at Prince Warwick. What can I say to cheer him up? He wondered. Finding out that he's lost his spiritual essence was a hefty blow. Are you hungry, Your Royal Highness? He asked, fixing a smile on his face as he approached. The Crown Prince glanced at him, then looked away, determined not to betray his feelings. Prince Warwick, you have to eat something, Jake said patiently. You can't go months without eating like you used to. You were much stronger then. Jake was brought up short by a grim look from his friend. Sorry, that didn't come out how I meant it. I meant that you need to build up your strength. Oh, I'm making it worse, he thought. Seeing the prince's jaw tighten, I'm not cut out for this. How about I fetch Ariana? He suggested, desperate for a way out. Noticing a slight relaxation in Warwick's face, he felt he had hit on the solution. I'll go get her now, shall I? He asked, gingerly backing away. Without waiting for a response, he quickly opened the door and shut it behind him. Well, at least he stopped yelling, he thought ruefully. Now all I have to do is find Ariana. Piece of cake. What do you mean she's gone to the Dayless Woods? Jake's face fell when he was greeted with the news on arrival at the students' quarters. She's barely got back from her last round of battles. Couldn't someone else have gone? He asked. Met with blank looks, he shrugged. Oh, well, on the plus side, she won't come to any harm sticking to the outer ring of the woods. Only those who had graduated were allowed further in. I guess she'll be back soon. He started to leave, intending to return to Prince Warwick with the update, but was stopped by Turin. No, that's not where she's gone. A team from the Major's quarters were short of members to go to the middle ring of the Dayless Woods. They took her and Axel with them. What? Jake's face clouded. Are you telling me they took a current student to the middle ring? Turin nodded nervously. Jake lost his temper. What were they thinking? And she should know better. The middle ring isn't for her. The students watched in shocked silence as he stormed off. The Crown Prince gave a satisfied sigh as he felt his lower abdomen. Years ago, his steward Toby had told him that there was Dragon Phoenix blood, but it had never been activated. That secret had lain hidden. There, where his energy center lay, was the proof of it at last. He hadn't lost his ability. If that's Ariana, Prince Warwick thought when he heard footsteps approaching. I'm not telling her about my Dragon Phoenix blood. As the door opened with a creak, the Crown Prince sat up in bed and looked out of the window, determined to appear disinterested in his visitor. He tried to mask his disappointment when it was Jake who sat down next to the window. Ariana just won't stay put, his friend complained. She got involved in those battles when she first came here, and now she's gone off to the Dayless Woods. And not just the outer ring, oh no, he continued, the middle ring, if you please. He was too riled to even look at the effect his news had on the prince. I heard all the senior spiritual kings were pulled out of the middle ring, but even so, she'll have a hard time fighting the intermediate ones. That girl, he exclaimed. She has no idea how much danger she could be in. Only then did he turn to face Prince Warwick. He immediately regretted it. The look on his friend's face was thunderous. Shall I go after her? Jake asked timidly. The Crown Prince didn't reply. He thrust himself backward on the bed and pulled the blanket over his head. I'll take that as a yes, then. Deciding it was safer to go with support, Jake fetched Pete Miller, and the two of them were readying themselves for the Dayless Woods when they were interrupted. Werther's team is back! Someone yelled. Werther Wilmot? Jake's eyes lit up at the name. He had asked around and knew that Ariana had joined Werther's team. Great! That saved us a trip. Let's go and fetch her, he said to Pete. But on arrival at the Major's quarters, they only saw 4 people, none of whom were Ariana. While Jake's face fell at the absence within the group, Brunhilde Borcher's eyes lit up at the sight of him. She quickly wiped her face, dusted the dirt off her dress, made sure that the scarf was in place to hide where she had been partially scalped, and sauntered up to Jake with her prettiest smile. Oblivious to her efforts on his behalf, Jake rushed toward Werther, pushing Brunhilde aside in his haste and knocking her into a wall, nearly dislodging her scarf. "Where's Ariana?" he asked. "Where's my Ariana? Didn't she go with you? Why are you back without her?" Did he just say, "my Ariana"? Brunhilde was taken aback. In common with the others in the Major's quarters, she had already graduated from the academy and was somewhat out of the loop in terms of the Mystic Kingdom's social scene. Ariana and Jake, she wondered. Are they a couple? Jake grabbed Werther and shouted, "Tell me!" Seeing that Werther was looking stunned by the confrontation, Axel stepped forward and told Jake what had happened in the woods, showing him the essence crystals and badges that Ariana had earned. "Your sister went to the central area on her own," Axel told him. "I wanted to stop her, and I did try, but I couldn't." Jake was furious. "The central area? That's way above her level. What was she thinking?" Brunhilde was still pondering what Axel had said. "Sister?" she mused. "What exactly is Ariana's relationship with Jake? If Ariana is Jake's sister, then that would make her General Grace's daughter." The idea was just too frightening for Brunhilde. Titles might not count for much out in the Peace Grassland, where rank and manifestation capability ruled. But being the son or daughter of General Victor Grace was a different matter. She studied Jake for any signs of family resemblance, but his face was knitted in rage, and he took hold of Axel and drew him close. Fearing that Jake would break his arm, Axel told him in a strangled tone, "She said she was going to look for the immortal spirit fruit." Jake stared at him in astonishment. Axel nodded. "I'm sure that's what she said." Remembering that Ariana had asked him about that fruit, Jake loosened his grip. "Come on," Jake said, turning to Pete. "We need to get to the Dayless Woods after all." "Are Ariana and Jake a couple then?" Brunhilde asked once the dust had settled following Jake and Pete's departure. Axel threw her a dirty look. "What are you talking about? Ariana and Jake are brother and sister. His mother adopted her." "So they're not real siblings," Brunhilde said suggestively. Axel was furious. "Watch your mouth. Do you have a death wish? They aren't a couple, but Ariana and the Crown Prince are, and His Royal Highness adores her." "I don't believe you." Even if part of her did believe it, Brunhilde would find some way to convince herself it wasn't possible. Axel's assertion was overheard by someone else. Dr. Harper just happened to be passing as Axel had yelled at Brunhilde. She was still reeling from witnessing Ariana's superior medical skills. With some effort, she managed to overcome the initial shock by telling herself that there was nothing to say that the Crown Prince had to fall in love with a semi-divine medicine refiner. And as for her apparent beauty, she had reasoned, His Royal Highness isn't the superficial type. He sees beyond that, as well as whatever level a person happens to have achieved. Having convinced herself of all that, she had decided to take a walk with Tara for company. But any positivity she may have gained came crashing down when she overheard Axel. As Tara watched, eyes wide, Dr. Harper marched right up to confront the unsuspecting student. "What did you say?" she bellowed, causing him to jump and spin around to face her. Brunhilde looked on in amusement. She might not have liked Dr. Harper, but she sensed a kindred spirit in her hatred of Ariana. Taking a step toward the bewildered Axel, she introduced the newcomer. "This is Dr. Harper, the best medicine refiner in the fortress." The best medicine refiner? Tara, who had borne witness to the fact that this was not the case, chanced a quizzical glance at Dr. Harper. If she isn't going to set them straight on that score, she thought, then it's not my place to do so. Tara wasn't the only one questioning the accuracy of Brunhilde's statement about the doctor. Surely, thought Axel, Ariana must at least come close. She's certainly an excellent medicine refiner. He was brought up sharp by a renewal of Dr. Harper's interrogation. "I asked you, what did you say?" He looked her directly in the eye. "I'm not sure I know what you mean." Dr. Harper's face reddened. "These students show no respect," she fumed. "It's all down to that Grace girl." "You said something about a relationship between Ariana Grace and Prince Warwick," she said, barely keeping a lid on her fury. "What was it you said?" At the sound of raised voices, more people gathered, and all eyes were on Axel. He kept his gaze level and fixed on the doctor. "We may not have met before, but I am aware of your reputation. I know you're a supreme-level medicine refiner. I also know that Ariana's medical skills are just as good as yours. What I don't understand is why you're so angry." Dr. Harper was momentarily at a loss for how to respond. She was all too well aware of Ariana's medical skills, having witnessed them firsthand. This boy's defense of her, however, was too much for her to take. "Just tell me what you said!" she shouted. "Fine, I'll tell you. His Royal Highness adores Ariana, and she is going to marry him." Dr. Harper wasn't the only one shocked to hear such a bold statement, which went against everything they had been led to believe. Finding himself the focus of such disbelieving, and in the case of the doctor, downright murderous looks, Axel felt distinctly uneasy. "What?" he challenged. "Do you think I'm wrong?" "I don't believe you." Dr. Harper glared at him. "Prove it." "I'm not sure how, but I swear I'm telling the truth," he said. "Back in Sphinx Academy, His Royal Highness didn't deny it, and lots of people were there for that. Hey, Chester, stop!" Spotting Chester at the back of the group, heading for the door, Axel had remembered that he had witnessed the incident, and as a military academy student, couldn't be accused of bias. Chester reluctantly stopped, but he was itching to make himself scarce. Dr. Harper was an important figure in the military academy, and he didn't want to get on the wrong side of her. "I don't know. I didn't see anything. I have to be somewhere. Sorry," he muttered. Axel watched crestfallen as Chester dashed away, taking with him his hope of proving what it seemed he alone knew or would admit to be true. Dr. Harper smirked. "See? No witnesses. No evidence. You're lying." "I'm not," he insisted. "Prove it." The doctor turned to the other students from the military academy. "Take him down," she ordered. Two of them stepped out to do her bidding. Just like Chester before them, they feared defying her. "Why are you doing this to me?" Axel cried. "You've slandered the crown prince of the Mystic Kingdom." Dr. Harper fixed him with a steely glare. "That's akin to treason. Lock him up." Nobody was willing to speak in his defense. When pitted against someone of the standing of the supreme-level medicine refiner from the Shadowless sect, a mere student, particularly one effectively accused of treason, mattered very little. "When Ariana comes back, tell her to come and rescue me," Axel called out to Turin as he was led away to be locked up. Turin worried for his Dynasty team captain, but felt powerless to help. He and the rest of the team would have backed his assertion that the Crown Prince was in love with Ariana, but Dr. Harper had threatened them with the same fate. It didn't seem to matter that they would have been telling the truth, and therefore shouldn't be accused of slander. Different rules seemed to apply to those with them. Young people these days, what can I say? A young lieutenant colonel had made his way into the room, alerted by the commotion. He gave a wry smile as he looked around the remaining students. "Lieutenant Colonel Wilkinson!" An odd hush fell over the group as they turned to face the respected officer. He was from Sphinx Academy, but his unrequited love for Dr. Harper drew both his interest in the incident and his instinctive support for her actions. "Why haven't I heard of this Ariana Grace before? What's her military rank?" he asked. "Military rank?" Brunhilde was quick to respond. "She doesn't have one. She's still a student at Sphinx Academy." The lieutenant colonel did a double take. "What? A student? And she's claiming to be marrying the crown prince, is she? That's just plain arrogance." Andy Wang came to Ariana's defense. "You don't know the first thing about her. Ariana's the best. We've all seen her in action. She even killed level 3 spiritual kings." "That's right," agreed Turin, grateful that others were willing to take her side. "Well, is it right what Brunhilde said?" asked Lieutenant Colonel Wilkinson. "She hasn't even graduated, let alone achieved a military rank." Turin and Andy looked downcast. The officer patted Andy on the shoulder. "You're still young, and you've seen too little of the world. I admire your loyalty to your friend, but making all these wild claims about her won't do her any good. You can brag about her when she becomes a lieutenant colonel," he added. "But you'll have to wait 10 years for that." He laughed. It hadn't been an idle remark. It had taken him a decade to rise to that rank. "She'll become a lieutenant colonel in a year. You'll see," Andy proudly declared. "A year?" Brunhilde scoffed. "She'll have to get out of the Dayless Woods alive first." Ariana wasn't oblivious to the danger that lay ahead, but her sole focus was finding the immortal spirit fruit. Because of her, the Crown Prince was seriously injured. If he hadn't challenged Stuart Monroe as a warning to Madeline's whole family, he wouldn't have been injured, and Night Owl wouldn't have taken advantage of that when they fought. She needed to find the immortal spirit fruit, not only to restore Prince Warwick's health and spiritual essence, but also to prevent Night Owl from using it to regain his ability and destroy their fortress. Without a map or guidance, Ariana took a deep breath and rushed headlong into the central region. Trigger warning. This episode will discuss violence and suicide. This is just a work of fiction, and the app does not promote it in any manner. Assassins were everywhere in the Dayless Woods, where Ariana had gone searching for the immortal spirit fruit. The first killer found her while she was hiding in a tree she had climbed so she could sit quietly and sip water from her canteen. She heard the sound of rustling leaves and sensed an archer was pointing his deadly arrow at her. Faster than thought, she threw the metal canteen at the assassin's face. Now that Ariana was a level 3 spiritual king, her throwing arm was very strong indeed. The canteen hit him very hard. Then she unsheathed her fallen star sword and leaped out of the tree. When she was at eye level with her attacker, she lopped off his head. Another level 3 spiritual king was dead by her hand. It was easy for her to kill people with the same spiritual ranking as hers. Ariana stared for a moment at the dead man and realized he was just one of many people who were hunting for her. By then, every single citizen of the Blue Sky Kingdom would know about the price on her head. Every single one of them would know about the coveted divine phoenix blood coursing through her veins. "I can't let them catch me," she thought. "I need to stay alive. I must find the immortal spirit fruit and then make it into medicine that will restore Warwick's ability to cultivate." For a moment, Ariana listened to the sounds of nature in the Dayless Woods. She could hear leaves rustling in the breeze. Suddenly, the breeze carried the clash of swords and the screams of combatants to her ears. A chill ran up her spine. One of the combatants shouted, "We'll never surrender!" The shouter spoke Ariana's language. A battle between Mystic Kingdom and Blue Sky Kingdom fighters was underway. Ariana took a calming breath and squared her shoulders. She pulled a black scarf out of her pocket and covered her face with it. Swiftly and silently, she climbed back into the dense tree canopy. She leaped from branch to branch until she reached the battleground. Swiftly and silently settling into a hiding place among the leaves that afforded her a clear view of the fighters. There, on the bloodied battlefield, lay Luigi Laredo. His 4 teammates, whom she had briefly met during a recent encounter in the forest, were lying beside him, incapacitated by their wounds. They were outnumbered and in dire straits. Luigi was badly injured, and without proper medical treatment, he would die soon. He was one of the military academy's top students, and his death would be a grave loss to his school. Level 4 spiritual king Shlomo Shively, who was the team's leader, had a fist-sized hole in his abdomen. Cynthia Sobel, a level 3 spiritual king, had suffered only superficial injuries, but she was immobilized because several enemy fighters were pointing their swords at her. Once again, a chill ran up Ariana's spine. She thought, "The enemy fighters are planning to torture Cynthia because she was a woman." The Blue Sky Kingdom's 10 combatants were bruised and bleeding, but none of them was seriously injured. 5 were level 4 spiritual kings, and the other 5 were level 3 spiritual kings. They stood in a menacing circle around the prostrate Mystic Kingdom fighters. The Blue Sky Kingdom team leader, Balbino Becerra, was leering loud. He stepped close to Cynthia, pointed his sword at her throat, and laughed cruelly. She shook with rage and screamed defiant curse words at him. Ariana realized Cynthia was the fighter whose voice had been carried to her ears by the breeze. Suddenly, Balbino flicked his sword over Cynthia's dress. The top of it ripped open, exposing her arms and shoulders. Ariana instantly understood Balbino's evil intentions, and for a moment, incandescent rage blinded her. She couldn't think, and she couldn't move for a few seconds. When she regained the use of her faculties, she heard him laugh again. "You swine," she thought. "You disgusting swine. If you lay a hand on that woman, I'll kill you." Cynthia faced her tormentor and screamed more curse words. She knew she and her teammates were all about to be slaughtered. She knew she couldn't prevent the bloodbath, but could keep herself from being tortured and raped. She pulled a dagger out of her sleeve and held it to her own throat. "You can't have me," she thundered. "If you lay a hand on me, I'll kill myself." Her teammates roared with rage. They knew they were all about to be slaughtered. As fighters in a war zone, they reconciled themselves to the fact that they might die in battle. But the thought that Balbino would torture and rape their beloved teammate Cynthia was unbearable. "Don't you dare!" Luigi shouted. "Raping a battle captive is a war crime. It is an affront to the laws of all nations. You will suffer for your crime." Yet again, Balbino laughed malevolently. He was a fluent speaker of the Mystic Kingdom's language, so he understood Luigi perfectly. "I won't be punished for my crime," he sneered. "It will go unreported. All the witnesses will be dead." His teammates laughed malevolently too. One of them, who also spoke the Mystic Kingdom's language, shouted at Cynthia. "Go ahead and kill yourself, little girl. We'll still have fun with you." Cynthia unleashed another string of defiant curse words. Luigi screamed in helpless fury. Once again, incandescent rage blinded Ariana. She couldn't think for a moment, and she couldn't move. When she regained the use of her faculties, she thought, "You swine! You disgusting swine! Before you can lay a hand on that woman, I'll kill you all." Balbino told his teammates, "We'll have our fun with her later. First, we've got sword practice." He waved his weapon at Cynthia's teammates. "You, men!" he barked. "Get on your knees and turn your backs to us." When he told his teammates, "It's time to kill these men. It's a competition. Whoever makes the cleanest kill gets a prize." Balbino liked to keep things interesting for his team members. They were survivors of the barbaric blood tax system, and they killed people all the time. Shlomo pulled himself onto his knees and struggled to stay upright. "Heavens above," he thought fervently, "send us a rescuer." He patted his chest pocket. "I've got something in my possession that our nation needs," he thought. Luigi pulled himself onto his knees and struggled not to weep. "Oh, Cynthia," he thought, "I'm sorry I can't protect you." Despair filled his heart. Suddenly, in his mind's eye, he saw Ariana's beautiful face. "Oh, Ariana," he thought, "I'm sorry I conspired against you." Shame filled his heart. He had drunk a vial of Madeline Monroe's true Phoenix blood to try to make himself strong enough to defeat Ariana in the military academy's intercollegiate competition with Sphinx Academy. He hadn't succeeded. Just then, his reverie was interrupted by a shout from Balbino. "Let's hold off on sword practice," Balbino yelled. "Maybe we don't need to slaughter everybody." He stepped in front of his kneeling prisoners, pulled a portrait out of his pocket, and waved it dramatically in front of their faces. "I'm looking for this young woman," he said. "I will spare the life of anyone who can help me find her." He strode over to Luigi. "Let's start with you," Balbino said. "Have you seen this woman?" He held the portrait close to Luigi's eyes. A chill ran up Luigi's spine when he saw it was a picture of Ariana. Of course he knew where she was. His team had recently encountered her in the forest. Luigi was gripped by a sudden longing to live. He wanted to see the sun's golden glow and the silent, shining stars. He wanted to see his friends' smiles, and he wanted to grow old. All he had to do was open his mouth and say yes. Balbino grew impatient as he waited for Luigi's answer. "Do you know her?" Balbino asked as he waved Ariana's portrait in front of Luigi's face. "Do you know where she is?" Luigi longed to live. All he had to do was open his mouth and say yes. Suddenly, in his mind's eye, he saw Ariana's face. It was far more beautiful than the picture Balbino was showing him. "Oh, Ariana," Luigi thought. "If I betray you, my life won't be worth living." He declared, "I have never seen this woman. I don't know who she is, and I don't know where she is." Balbino snapped, "Are you sure about that?" Luigi insisted, "I'm certain." Balbino's eyes raked Luigi's face. "I think you know her," he told Luigi. "If you tell me who she is, I'll spare your life, and I won't punish you for your initial lies," he added. Luigi wasn't even the slightest bit tempted to change his answer. He had done shameful things during the intercollegiate competition, but to his utter astonishment, he still had a sense of honor. Balbino strode over to Cynthia, who was still lying on the ground. He waved Ariana's portrait in her face. Then he said, "We won't torture or kill you if you tell us who this woman is and where to find her." Of course, Cynthia knew where Ariana was. Her team had recently encountered Ariana in the forest. But like Luigi, Cynthia had a sense of honor. She would never betray another Mystic Kingdom fighter. "I've never seen this woman," Cynthia declared. "I don't know who she is, and I don't know where she is." Balbino snarled. "Oh, really?" Cynthia replied, "Yes." Balbino let out a howl of rage. A tense silence fell over the scene. The Blue Sky Kingdom combatant swords gleamed menacingly. Then Balbino told Cynthia, "We're done here. It's time for the beheadings to commence. Lucky you! You get to watch." His teammates raised their swords in unison. But before Balbino could shout out the order for them to strike down their captives, Ariana leaped out of the tree. Faster than thought, she stabbed Balbino. He toppled over and died. Cynthia screamed and rolled out of his way as he fell. Ariana had killed the Blue Sky Kingdom team leader first to sow panic and confusion among his underlings. Her strategy worked. Before his subordinates could figure out how to react to Balbino's death, she had already killed a second man. Like Balbino, the dead man was a level 4 spiritual king. Ariana couldn't defeat the remaining 8 enemy combatants all by herself. She was a level 3 spiritual king. She knew the only reason she had been able to kill her more powerful adversaries was that she had caught them by surprise. There were 3 surviving level 4 spiritual kings on the Blue Sky Kingdom's team, and she needed some help to kill them. She ran to Shlomo, sliced apart the rope around his wrist, and helped him to his feet. "Come fight these people with me," she exclaimed. Shlomo was too astonished to speak. "Heavens above," he thought, "you sent us a rescuer." With one hand, he clutched a dagger Ariana had given him. With the other, he pressed against his fist-sized abdominal wound. He didn't want to bleed to death while he fought. With surprising agility for a wounded man, he stabbed the level 3 spiritual king who had been about to behead him. The assassin toppled over and died. Luigi watched the young woman with the scarf-covered face as she kept fighting their enemies. Is she a hallucination? He wondered. Is she an avenging angel? Cynthia ran to Luigi, sliced apart the rope around his wrist, and helped him to his feet. "Come fight these people with us!" she exclaimed. She handed him a dagger, and they joined the fray. The battle began in earnest. The Blue Sky Kingdom's team still had more combatants and more level 4 spiritual kings than their opponents. Shlomo was the only Mystic Kingdom combatant with that ranking. Fortunately, Ariana had already killed the enemy team's leader, Balbino. His death had caused panic and confusion among his underlings. Now she faced off against two of the enemy's surviving level 4 spiritual kings. Shlomo battled against the other one. Shlomo fought valiantly, but his abdominal injury had weakened him, and Ariana feared he might collapse at any moment. "Little Phoenix!" she suddenly exclaimed. "Come fight these people with us!" The magical bird was now a level 3 spiritual king, just like Ariana. But he hated fighting. In a previous incarnation, he had died in battle and was still traumatized by the experience. He hoped never to repeat it. But the purpose of Little Phoenix's current existence was to protect Ariana. He would do whatever she needed without a moment's hesitation. He flew out of Ariana's sleeve and aimed his beak at one of the level 4 spiritual king's eyes. The assassin felt the whir of beating wings against his face. Then he felt the bird's razor-sharp beak stab his left eye, and he screamed uncontrollably. Ariana took advantage of his distress to use one of the pounce-upon moves she had learned during her visit to the tombs. "Earth control!" she shouted in her most authoritative voice. Now that she was a level 3 spiritual king, her voice sounded very authoritative indeed. Then she performed a series of powerful moves with lightning-quick speed. "Fallen Star Sword, stance 3!" she shouted. Her adversary screamed again. Ariana yelled, "Fatal Thunder, explode!" Then she channeled her spiritual essence into her lethal blade and stabbed her adversary. He toppled over and died. Luigi turned away from his battle for a second and saw the young woman with the scarf-covered face stand over her adversary's corpse. Is she a hallucination? He wondered. Is she an avenging angel? The other level 4 spiritual king who had been fighting against Ariana felt fear in his heart. He turned on his heel and fled. But he didn't get very far. Little Phoenix dive-bombed him and pecked his right eye. He screamed uncontrollably. Ariana took advantage of his distress to stab him in the back. Her mighty sword hit him. He looked down and saw the tip of the blade sticking out of his chest. He toppled over and died. Then Ariana strode over to the level 3 spiritual king Luigi and Cynthia were battling against and killed him. Luigi gasped. Luigi finally realized the young woman with the scarf-covered face was Ariana. For a moment, she had stood close enough to him to allow him to get a good look at her distinctive sword. It occurred to him she was wearing a red dress like Ariana always wore. "You're a real-life human being. He blurted out, "But you fight like an avenging angel." Luigi was careful not to speak her name. He didn't want the surviving Blue Sky Kingdom assassins to know she was the young woman with divine phoenix blood in her veins and a price on her head. In the blink of an eye, Ariana beheaded all the surviving enemy combatants, except the one who was fighting against Shlomo. Screams echoed through the dayless woods. She strode toward Shlomo, who was wheezing and wobbly. The level 4 spiritual king who was fighting Shlomo saw her coming and blanched with fear. Out of the corner of his eye, he had seen his teammates topple over and die. He turned on his heel to flee, but Ariana kicked him in the knees, and then Shlomo killed him. And all of a sudden, the sounds of battle ceased. The silence was deafening. Then Ariana heard leaves rustling in the breeze once again. Luigi and his teammates stared at her. She pulled a shawl out of her ring space and stepped toward Cynthia. "Please, put this on," Ariana told the young woman, whose bodice had been slashed off her dress. Cynthia was too awed to speak. She thanked Ariana with a respectful bow. "You were willing to die rather than tell that monster you knew where to find the woman in the portrait. I'll be forever grateful to you for that," Ariana said. Cynthia was too moved to speak. She bowed again. Ariana stepped toward Shlomo and pulled a bottle of supreme-level potion out of her pocket. "Please sit down and let me attend to your injuries," she said. He did as he was told. Then he watched in astonishment as green light flew from her fingers as she mended his abdominal wound. She handed him the potion and told him to use it until he had completely recovered. He was too surprised to speak. He laid his hand over his heart in a wordless gesture of thanks. Luigi was the only team member who managed to talk. As he sat down so she could attend to his wounds, he murmured, "Aren't you a level 2 spiritual king?" She replied, "I was, but I'm not anymore." Everybody gasped. Luigi turned to his teammates and explained that Ariana had been a level 1 spiritual king when she and he fought in the intercollegiate competition just 10 days earlier. They gasped again. They realized she had made 2 breakthroughs in 10 days and could vanquish enemies with higher cultivation levels than hers. She had just killed a slew of level 4 spiritual kings. Luigi told his teammates, "She has divine phoenix blood, which is 1,000,000 times more precious than Miss Monroe's true phoenix blood." Ariana heard admiration in his voice instead of jealousy. Her scarf was still covering her face, so he didn't see her smile. Once again, green light flew from her fingers. She mended Luigi's stomach wound and cleaned his other wounds. After she had finished her healing work, she said, "You too were willing to die rather than tell that monster you knew where to find the woman in the portrait. You were an honorable man when it mattered." Tears sprang into Luigi's eyes. "Thank you for saying so," he whispered. She took out another bottle of supreme-level potion and handed it to him. "Drink some of this every 2 hours," she said. "Then as soon as you and Shlomo feel well enough to start marching, you and the rest of your team should get out of this forest." She stood up to leave. Luigi said, "Aren't you coming with us?" She replied, "No, I can't. I still have important things to do here." Shlomo gasped and put his hand into his chest pocket. "Don't go yet!" he exclaimed. Ariana heard the urgency in Shlomo's voice. She stopped dead in her tracks and then returned to his side. Is there something you need to show me? She asked. Shlomo fumbled in his chest pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Yes, he replied. We found this map in an enemy combatant's possession. You're a genius. Perhaps with your powers of discernment, you can determine its significance. Ariana studied the hand-drawn map. It depicted the central region of the Dalis Woods. The combatant fought very hard to keep the map from falling into our hands, which leads me to believe it could be important to our nation, Shlomo said. Ariana noticed a pathway on the map that ended in a clearing where a distinctive tree stood. Oh my God, she thought. That's an immortal spirit tree, like the one in Shepherd's Village. It's exactly what I'm looking for. She quickly committed the map to memory. Then she said, You're right. This is a very important document. May I keep it? Shlomo hadn't realized until that moment that he had been holding his breath while she scrutinized the map. He didn't usually care what other people thought of him, but he very much wanted Ariana to think well of him. He said, Yes, please keep it. She placed the map in her ring space. Then she said, If you feel strong enough to head to the fortress, you and your team should leave right now. You don't want to be anywhere near here when the enemy forces find this pile of corpses. Shlomo replied, We'll go in 5 minutes. First, we need to collect the enemy combatants' badges and essence crystals for you. They're worth a small fortune. Ariana said firmly, The 5 of you must keep them. You gave me the map, which is far more valuable. Then swiftly and silently, she disappeared into the depths of the forest. As he watched her leave, Shlomo thought about how petty the squabbles between the military academy and Sphinx Academy personnel now seemed to him. He mused, She's such a goddess. She saved our lives, though she's from Sphinx Academy. And now she's letting us keep the spoils of war that are rightfully hers. Meanwhile, Ariana made a beeline for the volcano situated in the center of the Dalis Woods. The map indicated the immortal spirit tree was on a cliff right near the volcano. Along the way, she took a moment to change into nondescript clothing. It was likely the descriptions of her that were circulating throughout the Blue Sky Kingdom mentioned that she always wore a red dress. She also disguised her face. It was certain that portraits of her were circulating throughout the Blue Sky Kingdom. Balbino had shown one of them to Shlomo's teammates. The facial disguise Ariana put on was the same one she had used when she had swindled Warwick out of the immortal spirit fruit that he had traveled to Shepherd's Village to find. He had needed the fruit to restore the health of his fragile ward, B. Ariana had recently found out he had forgiven her for robbing him of the precious fruit. Now she needed to find the second immortal spirit fruit to restore Warwick's cultivation abilities. He had lost them when Night Owl had nearly killed him in an epic battle in the fiery sky. Ariana felt confident that her nondescript clothing and unremarkable-looking face would enable her to pass for a native of the Blue Sky Kingdom. It was an impossible feat for most people from the Mystic Kingdom. That's because the Blue Sky Kingdom's assassins had a distinctive aura the Mystic Kingdom citizens couldn't replicate. Ariana could because of the magic soul vine that hid inside the palm of her hand. Warwick had tamed the dangerous vine for her after she had unknowingly ingested it during her visit to the tombs. One of the helpful things the vine now did for her was to cloak her in a Blue Sky Kingdom assassin's aura when she needed one. Another helpful thing the vine did was to make her a fluent speaker of the Blue Sky Kingdom's language. Jake and Pete were wending their way through the dayless woods when they came upon a team of injured Mystic Kingdom fighters. The two young aristocrats were desperately seeking Ariana. They feared for her safety because the woods were filled with assassins who were hunting her down. The team Jake and Pete encountered was Shlomo's. The team leader initially was alarmed when he heard them approach, and then was relieved when he recognized Jake. Jake saw the team's blood-stained, tattered clothing and asked what had befallen them. Luigi, who was practically incoherent after the team's ordeal, started mumbling Ariana's name. Jake and Pete shouted in unison, "What happened to her?" Jake's heart twisted in anguish because Ariana was his adopted sister. Pete's heart twisted in anguish because he was hopelessly, helplessly in love with her. That was a secret he intended to take to his grave. Luigi launched into an incomprehensible tale about blood and beheadings that baffled Jake and Pete. Shlomo gently said, "Thank you, Luigi. I'll fill these two gentlemen in on the details of our day." Then he gave a much more lucid account of Ariana's brave deeds. When Shlomo had finished speaking, Jake said, "You're telling me Princess Ariana killed 9 of the enemy levels 3 and 4 spiritual kings, and also helped you kill another level 4 spiritual king?" Shlomo wondered fleetingly why Jake had referred to Ariana as a princess. He didn't know it was a title that King Marcus had conferred on her by royal edict. Then Shlomo replied, "Yes, she was our rescuer. We owe her our lives." He opened the backpack he was carrying and showed Jake the badges and essence crystals the team had collected from the dead combatants. "Here are the spoils of war that rightfully belong to her," Shlomo said. Jake looked in the backpack and was suitably impressed. Then he asked, "Why isn't she with you?" When Shlomo didn't answer fast enough, Jake shouted, "Tell me!" Shlomo said, "She headed for the central region. She told us she had important things to do there. I gave her a map to take with her." A chill ran up Jake's spine. "What map?" he thundered. Shlomo replied, "We took it from an enemy combatant who died while trying to keep it from us. I can draw you a picture of what it looked like." Everybody sat under the trees for a few minutes while he sketched a copy of the map. Shlomo had a good memory, so the copy looked just like the original. Jake stared at the copy for a minute and then handed it to Pete, who said, "Look, there's an immortal spirit tree." They had seen one just like it when they had gone with Warwick to Shepherd's Village. He had been searching for the immortal spirit fruit and had encountered Ariana in disguise. "Damn," Jake thought. "Now she's gone to one of the most dangerous places on Earth to find more of that fruit so she can restore Warwick's cultivation abilities." Though Jake was normally very articulate, he gave a wordless growl. He realized Ariana would have headed into the forest's dark heart, even if she didn't have the map. But he longed to slap Shlomo anyway. Jake's angry musings were interrupted by the sudden arrival of Master Holmes's favorite servant, whose name was Pierre Pringle. "My lord," Pierre said to Jake, "Master Holmes needs to speak to you at once. He has urgent news to impart about the immortal spirit fruit." Jake said, "Tell me more." Pierre said, "The news concerns Mr. Pergonis, who has come from the Blue Sky Kingdom's capital city to take charge of the situation here." Jake knew all too well who Mr. Pergonis was. He was a ruthless man who was much feared. Mr. Pergonis was held in high esteem throughout the Blue Sky Kingdom. He was a superstar teacher who had an enormous influence on Night Owl. He was the young man's academic tutor, fighting coach, and personal protector. 3 separate people were supposed to have those jobs, but Mr. Paganis did them all. That made him one of the nation's highest-ranking officials. He was possessed of godlike intelligence, and he knew everything that had happened in the course of human history. He was the perfect foil for the impulsive, violent night owl. The younger man possessed prestigious spiritual capabilities, but he couldn't have survived the Blue Sky Kingdom's brutal Byzantine succession system without his brilliant teacher to guide him. Together, they had been invincible. And now, Night Owl's recklessness had gotten him into terrible trouble. He had been grievously injured because he had challenged Warwick to a fight. He needed the immortal spirit fruit to restore him to health. Mr. Paganis had to go to the Peace Grassland to see that he got it. Though Jake was a wily strategist, he had been outsmarted numerous times by Mr. Paganis's ploys. The only person who had ever outwitted Night Owl's teacher was Warwick. But the Crown Prince had also been grievously injured in the epic battle that had set the clouds on fire. Jake's heart twisted as he had a sudden vision of angry, injured Warwick lying alone in his bed at the fortress. Jake knew Warwick needed to recover his spiritual strength, or his soul would wither and die. Perhaps some strenuous mental exercise would distract him from his woes during his recovery period. Warwick has lost his cultivation abilities, Jake thought, but his mind is still sharp. We should enlist his help. Jake told Pete, "Go see Master Holmes. Then go tell the Crown Prince the dreaded Mr. Paganis is here on the scene and is in no doubt hatching some dire plot. I'll continue our search for the errant Ariana." Pete never said much, so he just nodded. Then he headed out of the Dayless Woods with Master Holmes's favorite servant, Pierre. Jake gave Shlomo a final scowl and then hastened away to find his adoptive sister before she got herself killed. Meanwhile, Ariana was up in the treetops once again. Down below her, a squadron of vicious assassins lounged around and laughed about how easily they were going to capture her. The 50-man squadron snapped to attention when their leader, Lord Ulrich Utley, addressed them. "Information from a reliable source indicates Ariana Grace is here in the Dayless Woods," he told the squadron. Ariana heard her name spoken and shivered. She willed herself to be calm as she stilled her breathing and wrapped herself in silence. She didn't want the fearsome giant and his gang of spiritually capable thugs to know she was hiding in the treetops right above their heads. "Your job is to capture her alive," instructed Ulrich, who was a bearded giant and a level 5 spiritual king at the very least. The assassins all saluted him smartly. Ulrich thundered, "Miss Grace's divine phoenix blood must be preserved at all costs. There are 50 of you, and she's just a level 2 spiritual king. The task shouldn't be difficult." The assassins shouted in unison, "Yes, sir! We will not fail you, sir!" Ulrich's features contorted in a malevolent smile. Then he said, "Our orders come straight from Mr. Paganis." Up in the treetops, Ariana thought, "Who's he?" Team 1's leader said, "Sir, Mr. Paganis' wish is our command." Team 2's leader said, "Sir, forgive my boldness in asking this question, but why is the divine phoenix blood so important to Mr. Paganis?" Ulrich had a bad temper, and interrupting him was ill-advised. But Team 3's leader was a brash man, so he decided to answer the question that had been addressed to his superior. The team leader said, "A single drop of divine phoenix blood can change the most ordinary person into a prodigiously powerful cultivator. Their children will be brilliant. Their children's children will be too, for generations to come." Ulrich scowled at the interruption, but he didn't chastise Team 3's leader because the answer he had given was correct. Team 4's leader shouted, "Sir, I'm requesting permission to nick Miss Grace's finger and take a drop of her precious blood for myself." The team leaders of Lord Ulrich Utley's squadron were thrilled to think they could get some of Ariana's coveted divine phoenix blood for themselves. Team 5's leader said, "We'll give her a beatdown, and her blood will flow. There'll be enough for every last one of us." Cheers erupted from the 50 assassins. Ulrich shouted at them to be silent. He had a voice like thunder, so they heard him loud and clear. Once again, they snapped to attention and saluted him smartly. He roared, "Any man who robs the smallest drop of Miss Grace's blood will be punished with death. Mr. Paganis will personally behead anyone who even thinks of stealing it." The assassins knew Ulrich wasn't exaggerating. They thumped their chests with their fists as they shouted in unison, "We hear and we obey." Up in the treetops, Ariana fought back a wave of dizziness. She willed herself to be calm. She told herself not to fear the fanatics who wanted to drain her blood dry. Back in the Mystic Kingdom, Warwick had protected her from people who sought to take her divine phoenix blood through marriage or violent assault. But she was far from home now, and Warwick had lost his strength. She would have to protect herself. She took a quiet breath and willed herself to be brave. Cold resolve settled in her soul. "Anyone who tries to hurt me will be sorry," she thought. "I'll make them wish they were never born." Suddenly, Ariana felt a loved one's presence behind her in the treetops. Very quietly, she turned her head. There sat her adoptive brother, Jake. Silently, he pointed his finger at a creek that was a considerable distance from the assembled squadron. Silently, they climbed through the tree canopy and then leaped onto the ground near the bubbling brook. Jake grabbed Ariana, pulled her behind a big boulder, and swept her up in a brotherly bear hug. She rested her head on his chest. He wanted to weep. Then he clutched her shoulders, held her at arm's length, and shook her. "How could you run off like that and leave us?" he snarled. "I was terrified. You could get killed out here." Tears sprang into Ariana's eyes. "I need to find the immortal spirit fruit so I can make Warwick well again," she murmured. She had a vision of wounded Warwick, who had angrily ordered her to leave him alone. It was her fault he had been grievously injured and robbed of his cultivation abilities. "Don't despair, my prince," she thought. "Be angry if you must, but don't despair." Jake shook her again, harder. "You're on a self-appointed suicide mission," he hissed. Tears slid down her cheeks. He muttered furiously, "And for some reason, you think it's wise to wear this awful disguise on your dangerous quest. I hate how you look. I hate this whole thing." Ariana winced. She was dressed in the same outfit she had worn in Shepherd's Village when she had swindled Warwick out of the original immortal spirit fruit. On that occasion, she had made a fool out of Jake, who had taken part in Warwick's search. Of course, it must upset Jake to be reminded of that incident. He shook her yet again. "I don't care how strong you've become," he said. "You're still a student, and you don't belong out here in the heart of the forest." Ariana wrenched herself away from him, wiped away her tears, and squared her shoulders. "Jake," she said firmly, "you should be proud of me. I've worked very hard on my cultivation. I'm a level 3 spiritual king now." He felt a sudden stab of rage, but he forced himself not to shout because he didn't want to draw the attention of the assassin squadron. "Of course I'm proud of you," he hissed, "but that's not a high enough spiritual ranking to ensure your safety in the central region." Most of Jake's acquaintances thought of him as an affable young aristocrat who was good at witty repartee. But he had a valiant soul that made him the worthy son of his mighty father, the formidable General Victor Grace. And Jake was ferociously protective of his adoptive sister. He had killed other men to protect her, and would gladly do so again. He told Ariana, "Pete has headed off to speak with Master Holmes. Our nation's highest-ranking officials are getting involved in this, and it's about time." He glared at her. "There's a price on your head," he said, "and every single person in the Blue Sky Kingdom knows about it. Our enemies want your divine phoenix blood," he added. Jake bit back his anger and tried to converse calmly. "How do you suppose an enemy nation found out about your divine phoenix blood?" he asked Ariana. She replied, "It's Madeline's fault." Jake said, "What's Madeline got to do with this?" Ariana replied, "I administered truth serum to a Blue Sky Kingdom assassin named Juan. He said that Madeline told Chrissy Cunningham about my coveted bloodline, and Chrissy leaked the information to his country." Jake said, "Madeline will do anything to hurt you." Ariana replied, "It certainly seems that way. You should keep an eye on her and Chrissy. They're working with the Blue Sky Kingdom." Jake said, "I know everybody in the Mystic Kingdom who's worth knowing. Why don't I know Chrissy Cunningham?" Ariana said, "Because she's small potatoes." For the first time that day, Jake cracked a smile. "Ariana's so incisive," he thought. "I love that about her." Ariana explained that Chrissy was a once popular War Academy student whom she had vanquished in a test battle to gain entrance to Class B. Later, in the secret essence mine, Chrissy had thrown a classmate into the path of the deadly spirit stoneworms. Ariana had saved the classmate from death and helped expose Chrissy's wrongdoing to school officials. Instead of waiting to find out what punishment would be meted out for her, Chrissy made a dramatic and insincere show of remorse. As part of her histrionics, she volunteered to serve in the Peace Grassland. Jake grimaced. "Oh, Ariana," he said, "you're just like Warwick. Jealous people love to hate you." Ariana thought of the Crown Prince, who was devastated because he had lost his cultivation abilities. Once again, she wanted to weep. "Stand fast, my prince," she thought. "I'll heal you or die trying." Jake thought of Warwick, who would be devastated if he realized Ariana was in danger out in the dayless woods. "Oh, Warwick," he thought, "I will bring her back to you or die trying." Jake said gently, "Ariana, please, let's go back to the fortress. Warwick needs you there." Ariana thought, "No, Warwick needs me to stay out here and find the immortal spirit fruit before Night Owl's flunkies do. I can't wait for Master Holmes and the other officials to get mobilized." She took off running through the woods. Jake was a famously fast sprinter, but to his great dismay, he discovered his feet were stuck to the ground. He stifled a scream. He didn't want to draw the attention of the assassin squadron. "Oh my God," he thought furiously. "She did this to me when she stole the original immortal spirit fruit from Warwick." Jake yanked a dagger out of his sleeve and started sawing away at his boots. By the time he had freed his feet from them, Ariana was long gone. Anxiety assailed him as he ran after her. He was worried the 7 beast kings that ruled over the central region would eat her alive. Warwick had told Jake no one knew precisely how powerful the cruel creatures were, But they were probably high-level spiritual overlords or low-level spiritual saints. What was certain was that they could swallow junior spiritual kings whole. The moment Ariana stepped into the forest's inner precincts, she would be in mortal danger. Though Jake ran quietly in his bare feet, Ulrich sensed his presence. "Assassins, stand tall!" the giant shouted. Yet again, his squadron snapped to attention and saluted him smartly. "Fan out and find out what's going on," he thundered. Once again, they thumped their chests with their fists as they shouted in unison, "We hear and we obey!" Then they filed into the forest. Fear assailed Jake as he caught sight of Ariana entering the central region. His fear intensified when she stepped into one of the Beast King's territories. "Ariana, no!" he whispered urgently. "Stay out of there. It's dangerous." He prayed the breeze would carry his voice to her and not to the Beast King. Jake kept running as fast as his bare feet would carry him. Ariana realized he was gaining her, so she looked for a secluded spot to hide in. Ariana wanted to switch disguises once she found a secluded area so that Jake wouldn't recognize her. However, she didn't have much disguise paste left and would only be able to change her appearance 2 more times. Just then, Little Phoenix cried out, "Wait, I sense something dangerous." Ariana stopped abruptly. She heard leaves crunching and realized someone was coming up behind her. Before Little Phoenix could go on, Jake caught up with her and grabbed her arm. "What are you thinking running off like that? I finally caught you. Do you know how dangerous this place is? There are 7 Beast Kings in the central region, and every single one of them is either a spiritual overlord or a spiritual saint." He stomped his feet in anger and continued, "They can kill you with a single touch. Do you have a death wish? What would happen to Prince Warwick if you died? The kingdom would be in chaos. Come back with me now." While he was done scolding her, he dragged her into the opposite direction, but he was too late. A sinister voice boomed throughout the area. "Where are you going? Stay where you are," the voice commanded. There was an eerie cackle that sent shivers down their spines. They were very intimidated and sensed a force more powerful than Master Madden or Master Holmes. Ariana knew she was nowhere near capable enough to fight the creature. She looked at Jake. He glared back at her, fighting his impulse to smack her, and she felt extremely guilty. If she hadn't run off, they wouldn't have become cornered by the beast. They raised their hands in the air and turned around. Behind them was a large oak tree, and on it was a spider as big as a grown woman. She stared at them with a cold glare. When they made eye contact with her, the golden spider scowled. Jake felt his heart race. "It's the sacred imperial spider!" he screamed. He felt like he was suffocating. Ariana had never heard of it, so she trembled as she asked in a whisper, "What is that?" He replied, "She's one of the 7 Beast Kings. She's either a peak spiritual overlord or a junior spiritual saint. We're doomed." The sacred imperial spider snickered and found it ridiculous that 2 humans were bold enough to talk to each other in front of her. The spider looked Jake up and down and nodded in satisfaction. She thought he looked delicious, but when she turned to Ariana, she found her rather ordinary. She began to wonder which human she should eat first. She kept looking back and forth between the pair. Ariana gulped, and then she asked, "Why do I feel like she wants to eat us?" Jake scoffed. "You think? She's hungry, and we're not nearly as powerful as her." Here's the plan. I'll hold onto her legs, and you run as fast as you can. Got it?" Jake looked at Ariana. He figured he was going to die, but his death would be worth it if she was able to escape. Ariana shook her head. "No, we still have a chance," she said. She had some poison in her pocket and quickly came up with a plan. If the spider wanted to eat them, Ariana would threaten her with the toxin. She hoped she could use the poison as a leverage to strike a deal, but she knew they could take it as a last resort. If there was a chance to escape, they would, but it wasn't looking promising. Ariana quietly suggested, "Let's run in opposite directions, and we'll know which one of us the spider wants to eat. If she chases after you, I'll come back to help." She had never sounded so serious, and he had no choice but to agree with her. They only managed to take 3 steps before 2 golden spider webs flew toward them. Ariana was caught by one in midair. The harder she struggled to escape, the tighter the web became. She knew that if she kept trying to get out of it, the web strings, which were sharp as knives, would slice her. She looked in Jake's direction and saw that he had also been wrapped in a web cocoon. Both of them were hanging on strings dangling down from the spider's fangs. Ariana and Jake looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Ariana felt like a human meatloaf. She tried to cut the string with her fallen star sword, but the web wouldn't budge. She couldn't free herself from it and was beginning to feel hopeless. Meanwhile, the spider studied her. "What's she thinking? She's weak. Why does this girl think she can get away?" the beast wondered. After much internal debate, the spider finally made her decision. She planned on eating the girl first and saving the boy for later. She opened one side of her mouth, lifting the web with the girl inside. Ariana was soon in between the spider's teeth. She could see her red tongue and smell the stench of her innards. "Are you going to eat me? Wouldn't you prefer to make a deal?" she asked, hoping she could negotiate with the spider. The spider was amazed. She thought the girl was foolish and laughed at how naive she was. Ariana added, "I have poison. The moment you start chewing, I'll take it, and you'll die if you eat me. How about I find you more food instead? There are 50 healthy people on the other side," she said. The spider was disgusted by her proposal. She didn't want to waste time communicating with humans. Ariana saw the scornful look in the spider's eyes. The disdain was quite apparent. "I mean it. I can lure them here, and you can eat as much as you want," Ariana said. She hoped she had a chance. However, the spider shook her head. Ariana wanted to continue negotiating, but the spider smirked and asked, "What makes you think you can talk to me, especially in such a casual manner?" Ariana was astonished. She had rarely faced a creature with such a superiority complex. Even when she had encountered arrogant beasts, they had either ignored her or doted on her. None of them had ever sneered at her the way the spider did. However, Ariana still had some cards up her sleeve. She had the phoenix pen that Master Lachlan had given her. She wasn't going to write inscriptions with it because they wouldn't be powerful enough to affect the spider. But she wanted to intimidate her with it. She was confident that all the spirit beasts in the Dayless Woods would fear Master Lachlan, which is why she had dared to enter the central region by herself in the first place. She put her hand in her pocket when something jumped out of her sleeve. "Hey, you stupid spider! Do you have a death wish?" Little Phoenix said as he landed on Ariana's shoulder. He was such a small bird that he looked tiny perched on his friend. His feathers were ruffled, and his eyes narrowed when he looked at the spider. It was obvious the bird was furious. Ariana's stomach lurched. "What's Little Phoenix talking about?" she thought. Even Master Holmes wouldn't be able to defeat the sacred imperial spider. Ariana was trying to push Little Phoenix back into her sleeve when the spider stopped unraveling her from the web. She looked at the spider in surprise and realized the arachnid had stopped fixing her for her meal. She noticed that the beast was studying Little Phoenix. The bird seemed both familiar and unfamiliar, and the spider was confused. The longer she looked at him, the more uneasy she felt. An old memory stirred within her. As the spider searched her mind, Ariana didn't dare move a muscle. She could feel the bird's claws trembling on her shoulder and could also sense the terrifying energy he emanated. Has Little Phoenix remembered something from his past? Has he met the sacred imperial spider before? She wondered. "Have you forgotten about me? I should have cut off more of your legs," Little Phoenix exclaimed. Spiders should have 8 legs, but when Ariana looked at the sacred imperial spider, she saw that she only had 4. Her eyes widened. The sacred imperial spider wasn't certain at first. Although she had sensed the bird's energy, it had been so long that she couldn't determine whether the fist-sized fowl was indeed Colorful Phoenix. However, the energy matched, and what the bird said made her think it was him. The spider even felt that familiar fear she had experienced whenever she had been around Colorful Phoenix in the past. "I can't believe it," the spider muttered. Little Phoenix snorted. "Have I jogged your memory?" he asked. The sacred imperial spider replied respectfully. "Yes, of course. Thank you for sparing my life back then." Little Phoenix nodded and said, "Now, why are you trying to eat my friend here?" "Your friend?" the sacred imperial spider repeated anxiously. Little Phoenix raised his head and snorted. He didn't bother to answer the spider, but simply glared at her. The spider shuddered and said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was under your protection." "The girl is so weak. I can't believe he would associate with such a human," the beast thought as she grimaced. Little Phoenix glowered at her. "Be nice to each other from now on. I need to sleep. Don't wake me up," he exclaimed. "Yes, of course, sir," the sacred imperial spider replied as she lowered her head and saluted the terrifying creature that once turned the dayless woods upside down. Little Phoenix ran back to his storage space inside Ariana's sleeve. Ariana and Jake were astonished. Since when was Little Phoenix so intimidating? Ariana wondered. What on earth just happened? Jake uttered in a whisper. They both looked at the sacred imperial spider in amazement. Little Phoenix sighed in relief once he was back in the storage space. Ariana communicated with the bird in her mind again. I didn't know you could be so powerful. Are you that much stronger than the spider? Can you defeat all the creatures in the Dayless Woods? She asked. In your dreams, Little Phoenix replied as he chuckled. What are you thinking? She mumbled. What do you mean? Can't you see what I'm like now? The bird asked sadly. She thought about it. She knew he was about her level, whereas the spider was somewhere between the spiritual overlord and spiritual saint stages. Master Holmes was a spiritual overlord, and Warwick was a spiritual saint, so the spider's capability was between the two of them. Little Phoenix sighed. Suddenly, she understood what the bird had done. She started. "You were—" He laughed loudly and interrupted. "I thought you would never get it. I was bluffing. That spider is way too strong. She's no longer a stupid little creature. Sooner or later, she'll realize what I've done. I used too much spiritual essence to scare her, and it'll take me a while to recover. You're on your own now." She nodded. "So you were bluffing," she stated. He confirmed. "Of course I was. Creatures like that will back off when you show some muscle. If I hadn't done that, that spider would have eaten you. Understood? And there's more." The bird sighed again. "You were a little too generous with your teammates," he declared. "Essence crystals are great and potent, but you can't find them anywhere else. You must keep some for yourself. And if you don't want them, you can give them to Sadie and me." Ariana was about to reply when she heard a noise. Little Phoenix gasped and said, "Go! It's your turn to fool the spider now. She'll quickly forget what I said about protecting you and Jake." And just like that, he went back to cultivating because he needed to replenish his spiritual essence. Ariana turned her attention back to the outside world to find Jake staring at the sacred imperial spider. She was staring right back at him. Her fangs could produce venom, which was her most effective strategy for capturing her prey. She licked her incisors and smirked. "Colorful Phoenix didn't say I couldn't eat the boy," she thought. "He's so pretty. I bet he's very yummy," she said excitedly. She was starving and couldn't wait anymore. She unwrapped Jake from the entangled web and dangled him over her mouth. He couldn't believe what was happening. As he hung upside down over the arachnid, he felt his heart race as sweat poured from his forehead and into the spider's mouth. Ariana gasped. In a fit of rage, she bellowed, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" Although she still was suspended from the spider's fang, she managed to get a hold of her sword and cut into the web strings. She dropped to the ground and quickly stood up, resting her hands on her waist. She raised her eyebrows and glared at the spider. Jake was speechless. He didn't know if he should cry or laugh. Ariana was only a spiritual king, and the spider was much stronger. They were a whole stage apart, and he was worried she didn't stand a chance as she challenged the beast. Meanwhile, Ariana's outburst startled the arachnid. She was confused by the girl's brazen attitude. She looked over at her as her stomach rumbled. She looked back at Jake, released her tight grip on him, and tossed him to the side. With a silent sigh of relief, he stood in a corner, cowering as the spider and Ariana glared at each other. "Aren't you afraid of me?" the spider asked her grimly. Ariana smirked. When the girl didn't respond, the spider said, "Say you're afraid of me, and I'll let you go." Ariana scoffed. "Me? Afraid of you? What gave you that idea?" She decided to emulate Warwick's intimidating behaviors. She stopped blinking and fixed her gaze on one spot, and she tried hard to radiate her threatening energy the way he did. "The girl knows she has a patron. She's not afraid of me at all," the spider thought. "Colorful Phoenix must be watching over you from somewhere. If I do the wrong thing, he'll reappear and chop off the rest of my legs," she said. The spider stiffened and stared at Ariana. The ordinary-looking girl brushed her hand over her face and suddenly looked completely different. She was stunning, and the spider had never seen anyone as beautiful as her. "I want to eat you!" she screamed as she drooled. To her surprise, Ariana removed her robe to reveal her red dress underneath. The bright color set off her alabaster skin, making her even more striking. Her beauty was all the spider could think about, and she began to feel dizzy. She stomped off to gather her thoughts, leaving Ariana and Jake alone in her lair. The sacred imperial spider soon returned. She was back to her normal self and ready to feast. She eyed Jake and Ariana, considering which one of them should be her next meal. Ariana knew what the spider was thinking and smirked. "You don't want to upset my friend, Colorful Phoenix, do you?" she asked. She looked over at Jake, who nodded his approval. She was such a good actress that he figured if they survived, he was going to ask her for pointers. It was clear that the spider was terrified as she looked around the area in search of the bird. She turned to Ariana and asked, "What do you mean?" She replied, "I know we aren't your match. You can eat us anytime you want." Animal instinct kicked in and the spider's eyes lit up, quickly forgetting her fear of the bird. She turned to look at Jake and licked her fangs. He felt a chill run down his spine. The spider started to move toward him when Ariana's words stopped her in her tracks. "I should remind you that Colorful Phoenix placed us in your care. If he returns and can't find us, what do you think will happen?" she asked. The memory of how the bird had cut off 4 of her legs was too painful for the spider, and she winced. She threw Ariana a dirty look and took a few steps back. Relief washed over Jake. "That's right. Don't you dare touch him. If you eat him, I'll tell Colorful Phoenix what you did, and he'll cut off the rest of your legs," Ariana warned. Jake was almost in tears. He wondered how he was ever going to repay her, as he marveled at her courage. The spider grew impatient, and her stomach rumbled again. "You've just ruined my meal. Now I can't eat anything," she shouted. Ariana had 2 pets, so she knew how to talk to animals. She took a deep breath and continued. "You don't seem to have many friends. Everybody avoids this area, so you hardly have any interaction with others. Have you eaten so many people that no one dares come here?" she asked. The spider glared at Ariana. Did she have to bring that up? She thought. "So what if I eat a lot? I hunt my food. No one can tell me what to do," she explained. When she saw the spider's reaction, Ariana smiled. "Since we all know we need to follow Colorful Phoenix's instructions, why don't we team up? We can help each other," she suggested. Ariana knew that if she wanted to persuade the spider not to hurt Jake, she needed to come up with a solution to satisfy the beast's appetite. Before the spider could respond, Ariana added, "You're hungry, but I don't want you to eat my friend or me. And you know the bird won't be happy with you if you do. Since you still need to eat, we should come up with a plan to find you some food." She pointed in the other direction. "There are 50 people in all shapes and sizes out there. I'll lure them in, and you can have a feast. What do you think?" she asked. What a great idea, the spider thought. She was eager to agree to the terms. However, she decided to play it cool. She asked proudly, "Are they your enemies? Do you want me to kill them for you?" Ariana was speechless because the spider was smarter than she had expected. Jake grew anxious. Oh no, she's discovered Ariana's plan. Is she going to eat her? He wondered. Ariana summoned the nerve to ask, Why do you care? Will it affect your appetite? It wouldn't, but the spider didn't want to help a human for no reason. Ariana said calmly, You've lived too comfortably for too long, and you've become short-sighted. When Colorful Phoenix comes back and learns that you've been getting along with me, maybe he'll teach you a thing or two, and you'll progress to the next level. The spider said smugly, I'm already a peak spiritual overlord. Magical beasts are naturally a higher level than humans. You're only a spiritual king. You must envy me so much. Are you as good as you say? Will you be able to handle all those people if I lure them here? Ariana asked. In true magical beast form, the spider reacted in anger. Of course I will. I can eat 100 people just like you all at once, the spider said slyly. Ariana nodded and said, I hope you're as good as you say. She grabbed Jake and ran away from the spider, shouting, We'll be back. But right at that moment, a gold spiderweb flew at Jake. Ariana turned to look at him as the spider pulled him toward her fangs. She glared at the sacred imperial spider, unsure of what she was planning to do. The spider growled, He's my hostage. Ariana was infuriated. She didn't think a magical beast would even know what a hostage was. When she made eye contact with the spider, she realized the seriousness of the situation. You can't eat him, Ariana warned. Jake struggled to escape, but the spider only squeezed him tighter. She looked back at Ariana and muttered, Hurry, or this will be the last time you see him alive. Ariana gulped and immediately rushed away. Magical beasts could turn hostile at any moment. Humans didn't know what triggered their aggression, so she knew she needed to move fast. She glanced over her shoulder and gave Jake a reassuring nod. He began to cry, but he shook his head at her. He wanted her to leave and not return. She gave him one last look before dashing off. There were 7 Beast Kings in the central region, and the sacred imperial spider was only one of them. Her territory wasn't as expansive as Ariana had expected. Ariana began to search the area and saw the blue sky assassins that Lord Utley had sent to comb the area. She recognized one of them as a team leader. She smiled because she had found her target. As they padded through the brush, she climbed a tree and deliberately snapped a thin branch, creating a loud noise. Both assassins looked in her direction. When the team leader looked up, his eyes locked with hers. The team leader stared at Ariana for several seconds. What a pretty girl, he thought. Is she a mountain fairy? He muttered under his breath. The assassin standing next to him looked at his team leader. When he followed his captain's gaze, he spotted Ariana in the tree. She's wearing a red dress, he cried. A red dress? The team leader wondered. He felt like he had been struck by lightning. A stunning girl in a red dress. It must be Ariana, he thought. Show me the picture, he commanded. His subordinate immediately took out a portrait with trembling hands. He knew his team leader had made a major discovery. Ariana was incredulous. These assassins are so much slower than I expected. I can't believe this, she thought. She sat back on the tree branch and crossed her arms. She shook her head as they fumbled with the picture. It's her! The team leader exclaimed, "Catch her! She has the divine phoenix blood! She's Ariana Grace!" The other assassin couldn't help himself. He was overcome with excitement and said, "I'll get her! I can't believe our luck! We're going to earn so many points!" The assassins were so greedy that they seemed to have lost their minds. Ariana pretended to be frightened. She screamed and dashed off. "Don't let her get away!" The team leader cried out. "I'll stop her while you tell the others that we found her," the other said. The team leader grabbed the radio and communicated their location to the rest of the team. The other assassins watched her head toward the area they deemed inhospitable. "She's going into the sacred Imperial Spider's territory. What should we do?" he asked. "Why are you even asking? The spider is dangerous, but the divine phoenix blood is our top priority. We must catch her. If the spider gets her first, even Mr. Paganis won't be able to get her out of the beast's grip. We must hurry," the team leader replied. They ran after her as fast as they could. Although they were terrified of where they were headed, they continued. She looked over her shoulder to ensure they were following her. Before long, the rest of the team arrived and saw their captain and fellow assassin heading in a dangerous direction. "What's going on? Where are you going?" One of them shouted out to them. "It's Ariana! She's going into the sacred Imperial Spider's territory. We must intercept her!" the team leader yelled back. Another team of Blue Sky assassins overheard the panicked group racing through the woods and joined them after seeing a girl in a red dress leading the way. Back in the spider's territory, the beast looked at her prey with cold eyes. Jake once again dangled from the corner of the spider's mouth. He could feel her patience running thin. "Maybe I'll die here. It won't be so bad," he thought. He began to weep. Through his despair, he heard a noise. When he looked toward the direction from which it came, he saw a flash of red. "Ariana!" he whispered. His eyes widened. He saw her moving nimbly toward him. Behind her was a group of people rushing in the same direction. They held all kinds of weapons and were shouting excitedly. Ariana finally reached Jake and the sacred Imperial Spider. "Your takeaway is here. Enjoy your meal," Ariana said to the spider. She ran behind her. The spider turned around and looked at the girl in astonishment. "What's so special about her? Why are all those people chasing her?" the beast wondered. She began to consider her old hunting strategy. She used to make enticing sounds when she was extremely hungry, but no one took the bait, so she had to leave her territory to hunt for food. She had felt quite humiliated that she couldn't lure her meals to her as other beasts could. Often, instead of searching for food, she would simply go to sleep when she was hungry. When she woke up, the hunger would be gone. The spider's mind had wandered off, so Ariana urged her into action. "Your web! Use your web!" she screamed. Ariana's voice awakened the spider, and she realized what she could do. Since the assassins had entered her lair, she knew it would be easy to capture them. "Oh no! It's the sacred Imperial Spider!" one cried. "Look at the spider web overhead! Run!" another shrieked. Despite their desire to apprehend Ariana, they wanted to live, so they tried to flee. But it was too late. The spider web caught all of them. 50 people in total lay caught under the net. The harder they struggled, the tighter the web became, and the strings began to cut them. The leader cautioned his team to relax so he could form a plan. However, it didn't matter. They all continued to struggle to no avail. It had been a while since the spider had eaten a few in a second. She consumed the other few within another second. Ariana's plan had worked. The spider cut Jake loose from her cocoon and ate over half of the best junior spiritual kings from the Blue Sky Kingdom. Meanwhile, Mr. Paganis hadn't yet been informed what had happened, and neither had Lord Utley. After sending out his men to hunt Ariana, Lord Utley was laying comfortably on a tree branch, taking a nap in the sunlight. He couldn't imagine a scenario where 50 assassins failed to capture one girl. He slept soundly, not worrying about a thing. Back at the sacred Imperial Spider's lair, Ariana picked up all the badges that the spider had spat out. The beast couldn't believe how humble the girl was. As she watched her collect the insignias, she asked, "Why do you want all that rubbish? Are you a scavenger?" How could she call this rubbish? Ariana wondered. She stared at the spider in amazement. She could exchange the badges for a military ranking and figured the spider would have known that. Despite not having graduated yet, Ariana could potentially be promoted to lieutenant colonel when she handed in the badges. She was excited by the idea. Ariana retorted as she picked up the badges. "Rubbish! This is great stuff! I can exchange them for a military ranking." The spider snorted, but Jake was thrilled. He watched as she spoke to the spider without thinking twice about it. He was fascinated by her casual demeanor. He started to think about how Ariana lured 2 groups of assassins into the spider's lair. He couldn't believe that all 50 Blue Sky team members were gone, and he calculated the badges in his head. He could tell their rankings by the color of their insignias and knew their badges were worth 600 points each. There were 50 badges, and they were all majors, which means she has 30,000 points. He thought as he sucked in his breath. She had more than enough badges to become a high-ranking official in the Mystic Kingdom's army. To become lieutenant colonel, a person needed 36,000 points. 6,000 more points and she can be a lieutenant colonel, he thought. He was so proud of her that he had tears in his eyes. As she continued chatting with the spider, it was as though Ariana had forgotten that the spider was very powerful. The beast said something mean to her and began to cackle. Ariana didn't appreciate the spider's tone of voice and scolded. "Why are you laughing at me? I should be laughing at you. How can you eat so much?" Jake thought Ariana was done for, but that wasn't the case. The spider was so full that she lay on her side. Once she was satiated, she didn't seem so sinister anymore. She sighed and said, "I haven't been this full for so many years. Since you're a scavenger, have a look over there," the spider said as she pointed her leg toward a spot behind a nearby tree.